Welcome out, ladies and gentlemen, to this UGC Season 19 Grand Finals matchup of DK versus K&D, two of the biggest teams out there when it comes to Highlander, and they're going to be duking it out tonight with some surprises as well, with Kresnik coming back for K&D on heavy after basically being vacant from all season. We'll see what that's going to affect. We'll see what's going to happen in this great matchup, the first potentially of two best of threes with this great teams. I am Sigafu, joined out here tonight with not only one, but two people to my side. I have Mustard Overlord with me, who's going to be doing some co-casting, and then Brick, who's going to be doing some analyst when we're in the downtime. Mustard, how you doing out here tonight?
What's good, Money Grip? I'm pretty good.
It's good to hear. And Brick, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing swell.
And we can't forget Vox Day on the camera. So as we're coming in here, waiting for people to get in here, Brick, I'll bring it out to you because you're kind of newer into the cast. What are you looking forward tonight when it comes to CP Steel between these two teams?
It's going to come down to Carl versus Kresnik. This is not the first time that these two have matched up against one another. They've done it on DK versus K&D. There's also been Hateful 8 versus K&D, and each and every time that DK has played against K&D on this map, DK or a Carl-based team has absolutely manhandled K&D. So I'm just really more so hoping that K&D brings their A game. It's going to be kind of interesting. Giraffe and the High Plat Circle has been well known to not be very good at this map in particular, so who knows, anything can happen, but I'm gonna have to put my bets on Carl and Aegis and Corsa kind of keeping their ship afloat.
And Mustard, how about yourself? When it comes to this map, who are the players or that you'd kind of think are going to stand out when it comes to this matchup, particularly on Steel?
Before I get to players, I just want to agree with Brick that, yeah, this is definitely a DK favorite map. I actually got a chance to look at the pick ban, and if I'm not mistaken, DK actually picked this map over Upward when they had a chance to pick both, and then K&D got to ban out Upward, which is pretty. It shows a lot of I'm sorry, they're being very, very loud at the server. Give me one.
Gotta disable that voice enable there.
There we go. Anyways, as I was saying, yeah, we saw how much of a train wreck Kids Next Door was on Upward last week. Not only against DK, but even against Boat, to whom they lost their Upward round in the lower bracket finals. But yeah, so I definitely think Steel in particular is favored to DK. I think this is a map that will probably offer like a little bit less sniper domination than we usually see from these two teams. Not to say sniper is useless; it can be very good around the window area, around E. But I would say players to watch. I think both heavies are a good place to start, actually. Carl, as you mentioned, is usually pretty dominant on this map. I think that Corson Demo is another interesting player to take a look at. From what I saw in scrims, he was actually playing very well. He's slowly but surely, or not even very slowly, quickly and surely adjusting to the role of Demo Man. He, at first, when we watched him last week's Singapore, he was having a little bit of trouble with those pick classes, but I think he'll be a little bit better in this run around. And I also think that Feint and Death Troll both have a huge potential to go off on this map. Spy can be really good on this map, very crucial on any attack defense map where you can like completely ruin their time with one good pick. So yeah, very long-winded answer. There you go.
Good to hear. And so actually, we have a new setup here. Brick, my man, why don't you bring up the tactics screen, and we're going to do a little bit of a pregame analysis. And I know you've kind of been talking about, to me, at least in the pregame, about how we're going to kind of see the different teams hold. So why don't you kind of talk through some of the different screens and kind of what we can be expecting out of these teams when it comes to Steel in particular?
Yeah, as we see here, we're looking at the B point, and the strategy in Plat is that you just pretty much give up A completely. You can put some sticky traps there. You can leave your spy there to kind of give calls as to is the team going to be trying to go for a straight E, or who's going to be playing in lobby? Are they going to be building a teleport or whatever? But for the most part, you're going to see all 9 players committing to the B point. And that's what you'll see here is the initial aggressive hold of the Demo and Sniper kind of peeking into the sightline of the blue spawn with the sentry gun up real forward. At some point, you'll see the sentry gun, it's way up here, it may be Rescue Ranger back here, or the engineer could just keep it back there altogether with him. And then I'll bring up here the B hold. So as we could see on this page here now, this is where we'll see like the blue team kind of pushing in more so. You'll have like the blue soldier playing up top, the sniper may go up there, the heavy could as well. And you'll see as the blue team, when they're pushing in, they'll want to Uber in and they'll pushing up this way. The heavy can come up top and kind of flank down. And you'll see the red spy who'll want to go for a pick or who'll be calling out positions. The blue spy essentially doing the same exact thing, and people just trying to stay alive. And then something that when we were pre-gaming DK here, if I just gotta stop talking for a second so I can.
No worries. Yeah, I mean this is really great. Kind of looking through this is so why don't you talk us through this next screen that you just brought up?
So in this here, I wasn't really expecting it because for the most part with DK and Carl-led teams, they have all 9 players hold the B point. Well, Van was holding in here, and he was just kind of, what I was assuming was just calling up positions of what was going there. So I was playing engineer, and I was not able to go into this lobby area to set up any of my engineer stuffs to try to get like a good hold position on DK on the last point, so my team could try to go straight AE to apply pressure off the B point and get them to focus it. And so like what a lot of people are going to be like, well, if DK is going to be putting all of their presence on the B point, how are they going to defend the E points? And that's what I have here. As you'll see in Wishbone, which is, I'll circle it here, this entire room here, this is going to be called Wishbone. And the entire DK team will hold in here, and they'll wait for K&D to jump on the point. And when K&D jumps on the point here, that's when DK will start spamming. They'll shoot their rockets, they'll fling their stickies, the Pyro will shoot a little scorch shot maybe get some Natasha action or minigun action, whatever it may be.
It's like the Ghostbusters in there.
Yeah, but you should never cross your beams, kids. Never cross your beams. But that's all they're going to be doing. They're not gonna try to come out here and apply pressure directly to K&D, because all that's going to happen there if they do that is this Pyro that's standing out here, Katsy, she's just going to air blast you off the point. She's going to murder you. And then, Giraffe is going to follow it up with his stickies and his pipes, and you're just going to be stuck in this little trap here and you're just dead. And so you're just going to sit in that wishbone, and that's where you're going to be defending for the most part.
Yeah, thank you so much for showing that different stuff off. I mean, especially those first couple points. I mean, Mustard, I'll kind of take it out to you for a moment here. Is what would you say are like kind of the critical points? I mean, at least when you are defending on steel, I mean, I feel like B is a really important point myself. And then, but where else do you feel like you can gain time when defending different points?
Well, Sigafu, what I've noticed is B, even among the top level teams, can be a bit of a coin flip. Sometimes you lose it way faster than you're expecting to, whether it be because they happen to win some sort of flank battle in E, and you get a little unlucky there, or whether you hold off their first push but you slightly overextend and they come back in from B really fast with their spawns and kill you, etc., etc. And a lot of teams will start, crumbling mentally or just in terms of being on the same spawn wave when they start losing points. And they won't have a good hold after B because they'll sort of overcommit to it. On the other hand, I understand why, because sometimes you can get a really long hold on it. But I actually think one of the more underrated points to hold, in my opinion, is D. I feel like a lot of teams that are at the lower levels will start immediately fully focusing E, thinking that as soon as the walkway comes out, that you can just take it incredibly easily. But with the fast rotation times, if you're a combo on defense, can play sort of around the control room area, in between A and E and D, that sort of area, you can have a really quick rotate to easily block E and to easily retake D. And I think that teams have started to realize that unless you're going for a really ridiculous A to E push without getting any other points, it is usually worth it to cap D before you fully commit to E, because that spawn disadvantage that it gives the red team is just so huge. So I think that D point is very underrated sometimes, especially in the lower levels, and that the team that will compose themselves mentally, because keep in mind, once you're there, you've already lost a couple points, so you don't want to be arguing about what let you down on C, or how you let their sniper walk up free, or the soldier that forced their medic, etc., etc. And then I think the other thing that's huge is you'll see a lot of teams start putting early pressure on E, not necessarily because they think they'll cap it, but because they want to stretch out the red team, Like you put pressure on E before you even cap B, and then when their combo goes to rotate it, then you can go in pretty quickly and get on the point really fast, Or when they're holding C, you make their combo rotate out, Things like that, using E not just to cap it itself, but to spread out the defense.
Okay, and so let's kind of bring this to the pick bans as that happened throughout this night. As currently, just to kind of give you guys an update of what's going on, there is some discrepancy in the game currently between K&D and DK about who should start and who should pick what side first. And so I'm not exactly sure. Currently, there's talk of getting admins in and getting that different stuff as we're starting out the game with some controversy. But while we're waiting for that to die down, let's look at what was actually being picked and banned between these two different teams. And I'll kind of pull you guys in for your opinions here. So let me pull it up in front of myself.
Before you say that, Sigafu, while you're getting it, I just want to say, I once played with a teammate named Sneaky Polar Bear, and he taught me the foolproof strategy to always get the side you want on any single map that you play. And I don't know why these teams aren't employing it. Essentially, you do what they do, you all join one side, but instead of arguing back and forth over MM1, you just don't say anything. No one talks at all. You just sit there. If they start typing in Steam chat, you don't respond in the slightest, and eventually you will get the side you want if you just completely stonewall them. It has never failed. It has a 100% success rate. So I'd recommend that these teams try that next time.
Well,
Teaching-
the two teams are actually doing this right now. Per the UGC rules, the home team gets to pick the map first, and then the visiting team gets to pick the side that they want to start on. Candy wants to start on red, DK is refusing to get off, and they're both refusing to get off, so they're both just stalemating this as much as possible, with Candy posting chat logs of UGC admins saying that Candy gets to pick the side, and Candy telling DK that if they don't start their match by 9:55, that they're going to, tell them to switch it to Vanguard.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so
juicy.
yeah.
I will
We'll
say though, Sigafu, this does
Yeah.
confirm what I was saying last week, that for a lot of people, starting on a red is an advantage in stopwatch situations.
Mm-hmm.
I've always felt that way. I think just there's nothing materially different about it. It's just the way like the mental game works, knowing the time you have to beat and like having it in front of you just seems to be helpful. I mean, it won't make like a bad team upset a good one out of the blue, but when teams are relatively close, it does seem to be a bit of an advantage, at least in the minds of players.
And we'll see if that affects, and we'll see kind of how that resolves. As I'm sure, I mean, from the rule sounding of it, I mean, as you said, Brick, I mean, that makes sense to me that DK should be the ones who have to move off there. But we'll kind of let you guys know as more unfolds. But let's kind of get back to the pick bans of this game, and I kind of want to get your guys' opinions of it. So I'll just go over what actually went down. And so the way that it works out is we're going to be playing a best of three. They decided ahead of time, DK and K&D decided to do a gentleman's agreement where any payload map or stopwatch game mode would be played in full. Usually in UGC, they go into you play like literally one round, which is kind of unfair because if you get a good time, it can screw you over, unlike a Viaduct or a 5CP, where it's like if you have one bad round, there's still 4 to go. And so currently, DK started out by banning Borneo. K&D then went and banned Ramjan, just like they did in the previous best of 3. DK then picked Steel. K&D picked Vanguard. K&D banned Upward, and then DK picked Product, Viaduct, as you will. And obviously it makes sense that K&D banned Upward as he struggled with there, but I will take it to you, Brick, first, because I know you kind of had something to say, or you were talking before about, DK and their success in Steel against K&D, but overall, do you like the map picks? Do you think that they were well done, and do you think DK, with choosing the 2 different maps, that they ultimately came on top there?
From playing against both teams on Vanguard, I'm going to have to say I'm kind of questioning K&D's choice with that, because DK has played that map so much harder than K&D has. Maybe K&D knows something that I don't, but I don't really know if they do. From my understanding, the reason they picked that map was because they were going to be without Banny, and they felt like Banny was the deciding factor in that, and with them not having Banny and Corsa on Demo and Aegis on Soldier, it was going to make that team so much worse in that map. But I felt like we just could not contest against DK at all, period, because of the upgrades that they had on their pick classes. Their Scout and Soldier, despite not having played with each other, worked really well with each other. Like they would run across the left side of the map and they would flank into our lobby area and basically murder me every time. And they would wrap our team with their combo kind of pushing in, and Board just sitting in the back with Billy Saurus on top of him, just picking off any player that got to the point. So I'm going to have to be honest that I don't really see K&D doing as well as they think they are going to do. And from playing CP Steel against both teams, we have managed to take rounds off of K&D on Steel, and we have not been able to take rounds off of DK on Steel. So when I just look at it, the only way I could see K&D doing this is if they get a couple of good picks. I'm not going to say lucky, because if you get to this point in the season, it's not based off of luck, it's based off of skill. So if they manage to get those good picks off of Skis, which is definitely possible, as people know, Skis has had a tendency to drop Ubers or just die in very bad situations on maps for connection issues or maybe just personal issues, but it's gonna happen. It can happen. So that's something you got to bank on there, and that's going to be their best bet of taking one of these maps. And personally, I just think Giraffe and Kresnik are going to play Product better than Corsa and Carl. And if it goes to Product, I see K&D winning the Grand Finals. But that's going to be the only way, is that they have to get those early picks on Skis to force it into Product.
And then force it into a second best of 3.
Yes,
right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think to respond to that, I'm not saying it's correct, but my guess behind K&D's logic of picking Vanguard is 5 CP map with some open areas, let Slemnish run wild. That's what he's good at, where he can sort of flank and just win 1v1 fights with his incredible DM. It worked for them against Boat, but obviously that's a vastly inferior team. And it's possible that DK is just too organized for them. I mean, this is, as it looks like we're almost going live soon, but yeah, it just seems like this is sort of a role reversal where DK is more of the sort of try-hard going over maps team this season, and K&D is sort of the let's coast on our invite talent, And who knows how that's going to pan out, but it's kind of interesting how that's panned out so far. As for the Product point, I think it's interesting that when Blues was playing, Nursey was severely under-healing him. I think Giraffe was just by far the most vocal person in that combo, and was sort of, that just led to him getting a lion's share of the heals. But I think with Kresnik back, and being such a dominant force in the calls as well, as long as there isn't any, counter-calling situation, which some people have speculated about, I think that the heal balance will be better, and you'll see, a more unified combo, because that was really what was killing K&D earlier on this week.
From ringing for K&D when both Jarrett and Bobby were on the team, or Kresnik were on the team, I could say Jarrett was the vocal, he was the main caller. Bobby just supported a lot of things, so I don't see there being any issue with Giraffing and Kresnik. It's still going to be the demo doing all the pushes and all the calls, and it's going to be Kresnik kind of supporting the calls, being like, oh, look, we have these picks, we should push, or look, we lost these people, we should back up. And then it's going to be up to Giraffe to decide, what they're going to do off of that information. And I could also tell you with Blues, with him playing heavy, he was a much more roamer than Kresnik. I mean, Kresnik does go off and kind of does the heavy ninja sneaky plays, but Blues pretty much would do that 80% of the game.
Yeah, and from what I saw, it was not being very effective in their earlier games, so maybe they just need that stability in their combo,
Yeah, and we'll see, as we do have 18 players, and they are actually on separate teams. Kamori came in, the UGC admin, and basically said, DK, get over to the blue side. This is what the rules are. And it looks like they finally have listened. Carl has told me that they have gone in real time, so we should be getting in here. So just before we go live here, guys, I'll start off with Brick. Who do you think is going to take Steel, and at what score?
I'm going to say 2-0 for DK.
And Mustard, what do you say?
I want to say 2-1 to DK to be different, but my brain says 2-0 to DK as well. I think if Candy wants any chance, they might have to break out some sort of super funky A to E type of thing just to get sort of a lucky round almost. But I think if it goes standard, then it's going to be 2-0 to DK as well.
We'll find out. Actually, I put a quick poll out to the Twitch chat, just who is going to win overall tonight, and currently you guys are saying 70% of you think DK is going to take it. Now, just to really go over real quickly the structure of, we are getting the countdown. The way it's going to work tonight is we're going to play a best of 3. It's going to be a best of 3 on Steel and best of 3 maps between Steel, Vanguard, as well as Viaduct if it gets out there. And today, DK cannot lose the Grand Finals. If they lose today, it'll go out to Thursday. K&D cannot win the Grand Finals. Only DK can win the Grand Finals out here tonight, as it's going to be K&D starting out on the defensive side, and if K&D win tonight, it'll push it out to a second best of 3, because they came in from the lower brackets as we get set up here. And what I would say is a pretty kind of typical setup, as we've seen a lot from the plat players with the sentry gun aggressively in the dispenser forward, as well as actually a teleport exit back where Kresnik is, so maybe some cute play in the future.
Yeah, it seems like DK or KND rather isn't even like sort of, or at least so far they haven't even fake committed to. Oh, they actually are now. Okay, we see that Giraffe and Nursey are just sort of vaguely peeking with Yosh trying to go for an aggressive sniper pick and Feint sort of watching on the rocks, but obviously at the platinum level this a-hold is going to be hopefully a formality unless they get caught out in some god knows why unforeseen event.
Yeah, it's interesting. Also, we're seeing actually a Eureka effect rollout there with Ender that I really like that on the first point. But actually, currently A going down. Nothing really happening. Ender did get a pick on the board, but it's not going to matter as he's going to already be back up to respawn. The A point, as you said in the pregame, it's given up for free. No team's really contested just because it's not viable to hold. Currently, we're seeing a level 3 gun sitting at the top of stairs, which I've actually done before, and it's incredibly effective, especially if you get your team holding with it. Now, the one thing is right now, nobody is guarding the A to E connector. So anybody wanted to go for a long play, but currently they're holding outside here. Actually, Van coming in, doing some scouting with the bonk, but we'll see probably a trade here. It's actually the Uber does end up coming off. It's going to be popped off. Actually, Nursey went down about half HP after eating a roller, but is able to get back up. Dispenser does go down, but they're continuing holding from the red side as 3 players do get lost here from DK as they continue to try to push him, but just keep bleeding. And first defense by KD, and it is a beautiful one, not losing a single player.
Yeah, and that was obviously sort of a direct counter to what Brick was describing as the meta of this map now, where you send such a majority of your team through B. I think if you know, as you said, a couple more people went A to E to at least scout it out, they could like spam the gun from behind, sort of spam the combo from behind, maybe give them a chance there. But if the entire DK team is coming from B, this spot seems like almost impenetrable, barring like some crazy sniper or spy pick.
Especially like when I think you get the Uber charge in, you want to try to do something, but actually Nursey getting a lot of damage done to her. She's going to have to back off. Course it's going to go down here incredibly low. Board trying to find a snipe, but not able to connect with any heads as he dies in that 1v1 against Yosh. The sentry gun trying to be kept alive here. Ender doing such a great job. Finally does go down. DK didn't get a lot with this, but they did take down the gun, and they both have 100% Ubers, so we should see a trade here, but no level 3 to back up K&D.
Luckily for KND, so many players on DK went down that they might even have a chance to rebuild that gun. Although it's still only level 1 because the spawns are extremely fast on this point. However, really nice work from Yosh. I mean, the only thing about this really close hold is if you start to lose anyone, you have to be ready to back up because the spawns are so much faster for blue. But that simply hasn't become a factor yet because DK has not gotten any time in whatsoever. They have the solo Uber going in now, but it's not really getting anything done. The sentry's being denied. Nursey just pops Uber a little bit later. And so far, nothing's really happened.
Yeah,
as you see the banner popping off as well.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. Course is going to push in here completely by himself. He's going to get backstab Feint coming in there as they're going to see DK trying to roll out here as the direct hit's taking down that sentry gun. But the thing is, Kresnik is still in that upper area. Edney also doing a good job. He actually wants to get onto Skis. He's directly behind Skis, but able to eat some damage as that level 3 sentry gun is protecting onto the medic. But here we go, the blue team. That is DK finally pushing in here, breaking that stronghold by K&D. Nursey is still alive as DK slowly working their way up here. Level 1 sentry gun being defended. As Ender is going to have to back out to spawn here, using that Eureka effect. Great
really
job by
play,
him.
Yeah.
Is just Inetney is still controlling that area, taking down Aegis in that 1v1.
And for anyone who was wondering why the kill feed had a ridiculous amount of red killing blue, and yet blue managed to make it on this point, it's entirely the spawn times. The people spawn so close and so fast on the blue team on steel that, especially early on in the map when the points are still so close to spawn. But we do see... Oh, wow.
Skis with a drop, as well as Course is going down. Level 3 sentry gun also got sapped prior to that, so that's a big misplay coming out of DK because you knew the spy was around because he sapped the gun, but Skis still getting backstabbed, trying to milk that Uber charge, and K&D is going to set up a hold again here. It's not going to be as strong as they did before because Kresnik's not going to be able to go into the upper area, but wow, what a play out of the spy there.
I do love the hold from Candy in theory, but it's pretty hard to know how well it would be going if Yosh and Feint weren't getting so many picks. They're actually at a combined 14 kills already, and it's been, what, about 4 minutes into the game? That's pretty insane, but we do finally see DK getting some nice picks. If I were Kids Next Door, I would consider just backing up here. There's no need to sell out completely and have a terrible defense. Although, as I say that, Skis gets backstabbed again, and Feint takes out Corsa as well. These pick classes for K&D are just buying so much time, as Slemnich agreeing completely in the chat.
Yeah, as we're going to have Giraffe popping Uber out here. It was actually a little bit of a miscommunication. Nursey wanted to go and fight, but nobody else on her team did, so she was caught out by herself as she was trying to defend. Kresnik doing what it is, but here comes the banner coming out onto the point, but it already does get captured. They're actually going to just use this to back up, and that's actually a pretty smart play since you're with the banner popped. It actually does give you that speed boost And so really nice job as Etney is going to help his team. That was an 8-man retreat back onto this C point. But currently was that a 4-minute time for the first 2 points is incredibly good.
Not only a 4-minute time for the first 2 points, but a 4-minute time where they really didn't lose anything for their next defense as well. And Yosh continues to go to town in this wishbone area. I mean, usually, even when you get a time that good, you know, by the time it ends, the other team might at least have a better chance of capping C right away. But Kid 6 continues to hold close, and they really haven't been under a significant amount of pressure yet.
Yeah, Nursey's still escaping with her life, doing a good job of being aware of her surroundings as K&D is backing up on the C point to meet her. Carl is trying to push around the corner, being incredibly low, but nobody's focusing down, fortunately, as DK is slowly taking over this point. Slemnish does go down. There's no flank classes, as Carl's going to grab that 100% med pack to get up here. Both teams holding on to 100%. As Kresnik is actually going to go down, as Faint's going to get caught out here as well. Both of them hold on to Uber, but with so many more players up on DK, they shouldn't come out the better of this Uber charge. And Nursey goes down to very low, trying to milk off that Uber, but DK should be able to push this if they want, but I guess the respawns are coming up for K&D, and that's going to scare out DK here.
Yeah, I noticed Etney on the kill feed was doing a really good job of holding down the flank. He was on like a 7-kill streak. I'm assuming he was fighting around E, trying to keep the other team out from getting a gun set up on DK's E point. And Kid 6 is probably eventually going to get forced out here with the best spawn wave. But as I say that, Yosh takes down skis again. This man is earning his money today.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. Draft currently on a 10k right there, busting out the ham kill onto Van as Aegis is going to come up, but DK's, but Draft, nice kill there, taking down the Spire, was at the Engineer, as they're going to try to defend this point. They want to defend the C point, but they're holding right outside of it. Nursey currently at about a 60% advantage, but not able to do anything. Bor should go down here. Finally, he does, as K&D somehow defends the C point, as Carl's going to get caught out here completely, but some cap time is going down on that E point, causing a distraction from K&D with Van getting onto it.
Yeah, it seems like, you know, normally a team wouldn't just be able to waltz back into a point they've already lost on steal, but when the first person who walks in is your Spire Sniper, he instantly gets a pick, you know? It's really scrambling DK, who suddenly are so much more vulnerable. If they, their demo man or their medic instantly gets domed as soon as Kid 6 walk back in, that makes it a much more favorable fight to, re-enter a point that looks lost.
And so currently we are on steal. This is the first round of steal, and DK is struggling, as it looks like we're going to have a pop off from Nursey here going into the right side. Ski's only at 94%. He's running away, trying to keep his life, going to get back up to 100, but here comes Slenish. He wants to get a kill, as well as Edney coming in over the top, and down he goes. Pop it, don't drop it. He has not learned that lesson. Watch some more. Eckstein, as Skis is sizzling on the ground for the second time this game.
Jesus Christ, I was going to try this kid out for my 6v6 team on Wednesday. Anyways, still a pretty even game. Still a pretty even numbers advantage, is what I meant to say. As we see, what's his name? Spamfest actually trying to go behind a spawn. K&D might get caught in here, but no, it looks like Nursey and Draft are barely going to escape. This might finally be the time where they lose this point, as, of course, it takes down Draft. That should be C. Let's hope Draft actually has a 22-second respawn. But Ender runs in and picks off Skis, and he's on the snipe. Kid 6 is just relentless.
Yeah, that's a great job set up there by Etney, who came in with the bomb. Ender saw that going in, and he went in for the play, as Nursey is going to pop off the supercharge, trying to defend the C point with the heavy, as well as a scout. No flashy coming onto the blue side, and that's going to make it so they can easily get cleaned up. They're not having that invincibility, as Kresnik regaining this point, and the E point is going to get some capture time down onto it, but right now, you just have to look at that C point. The good thing, at least for DK, is how much capture time is on it, that as soon as K&D rotates over to defend this E point, they might be able to get behind and maybe send a class to cap C from behind, because they're in a very good spot time-wise.
Although Skis got picked again by Faint while we were talking. I don't know, man. I'm wondering if his 112 ping is coming into play. Not to make too many excuses. I mean, some of the spy picks seem pretty inexcusable by DK as a whole, but Skis in particular. But I'm wondering if that could have played a little bit of a part in the Uber drops, maybe. Just trying to be charitable. He does seem to be lagging pretty badly right now as he's going over 120 ping. Let's hope that he can get that sorted out before the next part of the...
We'll see what he can do here, as a lot of contesting going on in this wishbone area, as you like to call it, as 100% is going to be coming out from Nursey. It's going to be Giraffe, making sure that he keeps alive, as he went down incredibly low, leading the charge there with some stickies. Carl did go down there, as the red team trying to get forward, as they still go forward, and what'd you see?
That one was not Skis' fault, I can tell you that. Etney just sort of waltzed past everyone else with that sort of immortal black box of doom and just sort of waddled into Skis' face. His team sort of scattered when the Uber came in, but for some reason their own survival instincts took over and they didn't really think about protecting their medic. Even though if any of them died for their medic, it wouldn't have been that big a deal. They would have had Uber advantage and been back up in 5 seconds. So, I don't know, DK just seems demoralized at this point. They're sort of scattering. They're not keeping their medic alive. They're sort of allowing this hold to become indefinite. And you can't do that. Even at this point, you have to start figuring out ways to, slowly craft.
Yeah, I mean, this is even an untraditional situation in 5CP Steel, is that you don't usually see the time potentially going to be running down, so that only K&D will only have to capture the B point. I don't know how many times in high platinum that I've ever even seen that happen, but currently it's looking like a possibility, as DK is struggling to do anything right now. Death's going in for a play, but no one's around, no one's distracting in that moment. He's just getting a little bit aggressive, and as you said, when teams get a little bit, as we're going to get the Uber charge popped off here, as it's actually going to end up being a trade in this wishbone area, but as teams get desperate, players tend to try to make individual plays, but when they do that, they tend to suicide at the wrong times.
He fell to the pit, I'm sorry. It has to happen a couple times a game.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, currently it says a 33 counter, but that must include the pregame. But that is the first one I've seen here today, as a Boar getting bested by Yosh, and that seems to be the theme of today, at least when it comes to sniping-wise, that Yosh is just on fire, currently on a 5-kill streak. His skis goes down again.
I don't know if Boar is a little nervous because his idol Kumori is in spectate right now, but he's just not putting on the hurt. Yosh actually, I mean, I'm looking at the kills right now. He's at 20 kills so far for the round. Insane. I mentioned that Steel is usually not the best sniper map, and that is usually the case. I mean, every map can be a good sniper map if you're on fire, and that's really what's going on here. Yosh is just walking around a corner and quick scoping someone, and at that point, it doesn't matter how good the map is.
Yeah, this is just not looking good. I mean, currently, the least the nice thing out of DK is we're seeing them try to do something different. They're not doing the exact same thing over and over again. They're not trying to push from that B corridor. They're just going to go onto the E point. 45 seconds left on the clock. But if you don't have shut down this wishbone area, it's incredibly hard to do this East style push. So we'll see what they can do. Corsa is going to camp that spawn, but down goes Carl, and Slemnish coming in here takes down Boar as well. And K&D just holding on so hard. 30 seconds left on the clock for DK to capture a point. But it doesn't even look like they're going to be able to do that.
And as a reminder, if DK fails to capture this point, then K&D only needs to cap 3 points in total to win. If they cap C at all, they win the round. Or if they cap A and B in faster than 4 minutes and 20 seconds. If either condition's met, they'll win it, and...
Yeah, and I mean, this is brutal for DK. I mean, especially this is their map pick. This is what they thought they would win on so easily, and currently they're not even going to get any captures here, as Death's going to try to make a play. He's going to get cleaned up. Uber charge does get come out, as people get sucked into the pit, as well as DK just, they are struggling here, only capturing the B point. So now K&D, to capture this first round, all they need to do is get the B point in 4 minutes and 21 seconds, or the C point or E point. Like, after that, this is looking like a very easy first round for K&D.
Jesus Christ. I know that it's only been a little bit of time, but I need to bring in some of these stats. Giraffe, 15-1, 770 damage per minute. Nursey, 0 deaths. Skis with 9 deaths, 3 drops to 4 Uber charges. Nursey with 12 Ubers. This is a little bit grim for DK rather, right?
I mean, yeah, if you go look at the logs right here, I mean, we probably won't pull them up on screen at this moment, but currently, of the top 9 players, frag-wise, 8 of them are K&D. Like, I know that's obviously going to be biased because of how well they did, but it just speaks to their dominance currently in when they're winning the DM battle as well as just the team battle, because Steel is a team game, and we'll see what DK can do, as they're going to be holding on to his speed point, but probably resign just to give it up.
And Giraffe, for the record, doing 90% of his damage with stickies, not even having to pull out the pipes because DK just collapses in every single choke point. Maybe not a stat some people look at, but I like to look at those accuracy stats, those damage by weapon stats. And yeah, I guess this is a bit of caster's hubris, Sigfu. You can't predict, if you predict one team to roll another team on a map at this level, the exact opposite has to happen, you know?
Well, we got to wonder what's happening here with K&D, with Kresnik coming back in here at the last minute, as we're going to see an Uber charge coming off here. Ski's waiting incredibly long, milking his Uber, as no real frags are going to come out for either team. Both snipers are currently down, but nothing really happening. We'll see what they want to do post-fight. Carl's going to get pushed out of this upper area. K&D doing a good job. They're actually sending their entire combo in this upper area, and DK, they never did that, and I think that was one of the reasons they struggled to push this B point, as they're making some ground right now as in this post-Uber fight.
I can't help but feel that with the way DK is playing this, like super close but on the ground, that they could so easily get pincered. You know, they're stuck on this sort of low ground. It'll be hard for them to back. I mean, I can't help but be pessimistic because of how daunting of a task DK is. It's not enough for them to have 2 good holds, or 3 good holds, or 4 good holds. They have to hold as well as K&D just did, and that's a big task. As Feint backsteps Corsa, and that's that should be enough for Candy to push on.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do as Ubercharge is going to get popped off here. It's going to be focusing down that sentry gun, or at least he's going to put some stickies underneath of Medic. Actually, it's going to put Skis in a little bit of a bad position, but no one's able to capitalize on. They're just going to back out. They did lose Kresnik, K&D did on the blue side in that last push, but usually just want to trade Ubers and then try to push back in. Aegis does go down to no soldier in that upper area, as it looks like DK is going to try to defend this to the best of their ability. The engineer Spamfest trying to keep his gun alive, but it does get sapped, but no one's there to do any damage. It finally does go down thanks to Ender with the Rescue Ranger of all things, and K&D wants to push off that, not having a sentry gun on the DK side.
I would really like to see some people from Kids Next Door try to go through E. I really feel like there's not a lot preventing them from doing so, and with the incredibly far forward setup of DK, there's not really anything protecting their gun right now. There's not really anything stopping flank players from just taking over the high ground. I don't know, I feel like, yes, this is the meta that's happened on Steel, but you have to try to counter it a little bit. Not that I'm super worried for Kids Next Door's chances in this map, but...
Yeah, we'll see what they can do as Kids Next Door is popping their Uber first-hand side. They actually looked like they wanted to drop down, but they opted just to back up. Level 3 Sentry Gun is back alive in Skis. They are not backing up, but DK, they can't back up. They need to hold forward. They need to do everything they can. 1 minute and 45 seconds left in the clock, or they're going to lose this first round. And that is a long time, as currently they just picked up a few frag.
Oh, poor Feint. He tried to cloak in his spy and come up on that little platform with the little walkway and staircase, but he bumped into the other team's spy and then got air blasted in midair and kind of demolished. But I really would like to see Kids Next Door try to find another angle to get through this, because I mean, I think the best...
Ender, look at Ender behind him.
Exactly what I wanted to see. But their team, Slamdish is also starting to eat pressure. This should have happened a while ago, but that's the thing. Candy has the time to, mess around, try a bunch of different things. Maybe some of them don't work. At this point, DK's best chance probably is if this 5-minute and 40-second round timer goes all the way on B, but that's going to be a really big task. I mean, you see right now, yes, DK's getting the majority of the kills, but Slemdish is still putting pressure on them, plus they're going to get really fast spawns back in. Boar and Vander down that allows them to walk up. This is far from over.
Yeah, DK currently 45 seconds left in the clock as Feint takes down the heavy right there. Carl had a beautiful play. He took the teleporter into that upper area, and then Skis flashed him on the Uber to take down Kresnik. Really nice job, as Nursey did go down there a little bit before by Corsa, and so that's going to give a 60% Uber charge back in the favor of Skis. Half the time is put onto that E point, as Slemdish is going to continue, and Ender is trying to make a play onto the point, but he's going to get easily cleaned up there. Engineer is a hard DM class to do, and he's proving it right there, but Slemdish doing a decent job as a sentry gun as well as Etney protecting that wishbone area. But with 13 seconds left in the clock, DK can at least catch their breaths, and knowing that they're not going to lose the round initially to K&D on this B hold, but K&D will still have a chance to win this game. All they need to do is capture the C point or E point, and they will win this first round.
Yeah, although you have to say, we're slowly reaching the threshold where this is starting to feel like Kids Next Door may be going from 100% confident that they're winning this map to like 90%. I feel like, I mean, I'll talk about a little bit later what I think Kids Next Door is struggling, but oh my god, Raph coming in and taking down Skis. Was that a roller, or did he just run in and pipe him?
I believe he just came behind and just put a beautiful pipe onto him. It actually might have been a little bit of splash damage between the medic as well as the demo eating at the same time. And Kids Next Door, they're going to capitalize this. They're already pushing onto his B point. Only a couple players to defend this, but you don't need to defend this with your life. When it comes down to it, the respawn times for the defensive side are so long, and they don't need to defend this B point beyond anything else. So just gotta make sure they don't lose too many players trying to do this, but Nursey's actually a little bit in an awkward position.
This is still really smart by Candy, though. They actually went in right away and did it in such a way where maybe Nursey would have a chance to milk. Eventually they do get forced off, which is good by DK. Their best chance in this round, was to force off Nursey so that on the C hold, they don't have that full Uber advantage against them. But Nursey was trying to milk for a really long time so they could potentially roll 2 points in a row. I do think that DK is finally going to have to give this up, as that was a very admirable hold by them. I mean, it was even longer than Kids Next Door's, but now they have to hold this C point for 6 minutes and 18 seconds.
And it shows you the strength. I mean, I think back in the day and the evolution of metas and stuff like that is because that B point was something that teams would hold, but to hold it so long, especially between two of the top teams, not being able to push through, I mean, just really speaks to it. But to some degree, I think we're, kind of both what we're saying, where the AE connector wasn't really being utilized, might have played a part in this. But currently 5 minutes and 56 seconds now for K&D. This is what they need to win this first round against DK, is capture the C point or the E point. And it looks like they're kind of rotating around.
This is crits. This is crits.
Oh, but Nursey gets taken down right away. No thing is really going to come out as crits is coming out from the Carl side, as Corsa was able to take down Nursey with one of those crits right away. And this is looking so good for the DK side, as Skis is going to keep up. And that surprise crits worked out great.
If I were Kids Next Door here, knowing the amount of time I have left, I would literally basically hide Nursey until I have a full Uber and then just Uber into the crit. I'm dead serious. They have 5 minutes and 20 seconds left. Why would they risk their medic before that? I feel like that's like the guaranteed way. Like, that's the problem with this crits. It's really good in a vacuum. But like, almost every strategy becomes worse in some way when you have to hold for like 10 years, you know? You can pull close at everything, so... I don't know. I don't think Nursey should risk her life at all here.
Well, they're playing it a little bit safe, coming up onto this cliff side of C. Nursey, getting a couple of stickies underneath of her feet, but nothing's really connecting so far. Currently, she's sitting at 70%, but 100% crits is ready to go, sitting around Carl, but no Corsa nearby to be able to defend this, but they lose a bunch of players trying to drop down, as crits ultimately did get popped off there, as it was just to kill a couple players, but those respawn times are so incredibly low. All those players are back up, and if a teleporter is nearby, they're going to get forward already. As,
and crucially, Nursey got out. Although, hold on, I don't want to speak too soon if Death Troll hits the shot of his life, but nah. Nursey now has a very substantial Uber advantage, and she's just going to take it through the rocks now that that door has been open for a long time. This,
you can see,
this is going to be really tense.
We'll see what they can do. K&D's going to be rolling out here as Giraffe's going to be popping onto that Uber. Lands a kill onto the Scout. He's continue up onto that right-hand side. Slemnish picking up another frag as 3 players only alive here to defend this, as Carl by himself, of course, is going to go back to spawn to try to get some health as he's going to defend the C point. They're playing for this first point. They're playing for the life right now. DK doing everything they can, but Carl is going to go down as well, and that's a team wipe coming out of K&D. Great job, as they're going to secure the C point, take the first round, and we'll see how DK can respond coming into the second half.
Beautiful push eventually. But yeah, I think the reason that Kids Next Door struggled a little bit there is because I don't think it was because the moment was too big for them or anything. I think it's just that their strength as a team, right, is that they have really good synergy and play like with each other all the time. But one of their weaknesses is probably that they're not a particularly aggressive team. And I feel like on blue side, sometimes you have to be really good at those super fast non-Uber pushes, you know, using those spawns that you get. Hope that, like, maybe you kill 5 of them, they kill 5 of you, but then your spawns come in faster, and maybe that's how you take the B point quickly. You know, go for some flanks, go for some bombs, etc. And I think that their sort of cohesion carried them through their defense. I mean, yes, Giraffe got a ridiculous 770 DPM, but I think that was enabled by Skis getting picked off by pick classes every single time, and then the rest of DK suddenly overextended with no heals, as the combo of Kids Next Door could just mulch them.
Yeah, so we'll see what they can do, as we'll bring in Brick here, just to kind of, we can talk over the logs here if you don't have them already, but you can just talk actually maybe your first impressions from that round between the two different teams, taking kind of into consideration what Mustard said. I mean, what do you think are kind of the weak points that happened there for DK, as you were predicting DK to go 2-0, and they are already a round down in this first map?
I mean, as I said, like, the only way I felt that K&D was going to be taking this map or any of these other maps was if they were going to be getting at Skis and causing him to drop. And he had, those 3 Uber drops? That is exactly what K&D needed to get into this game. I don't even really need to look at the stats to know what was going on, as I saw Yosh and Slimnish just absolutely demolishing DK, as well as Fate getting some really good key picks at times, and Giraffe just putting down absurd amount of damage to where DK just could not push with any sort of buff. Some things that I can say is that yes, Kresnik is back, but on top of that, Yosh is playing very differently. He's playing more with the combo than he has the entire season, and he's also running the Razorback. That's going to be making killing him so much more difficult than it was in like previous weeks, or even the last couple of seasons where he has done nothing but run the lazy camper or the cozy camper.
Building on Brick's point, not only is Skis getting destroyed by the pick classes and, you know, Scout, Soldier, etc. from Kids Next Door, but the opposite is not happening in the slightest. Nursey only had 2 deaths in that entire round, and they were both on that offensive side. On defense, she didn't die once. You know, usually Death Troll is an incredibly good spy, but for whatever reason he's being completely shut down. He has only 1 backstab, he has no picks onto Nursey, and just the entire Kids Next Door team is just creating this big wall of pain, and they're just so aware of any potential threat to their combo. So, like, maybe if Skis got dropped here, the other team could could follow up by getting a nice force, a nice drop, a nice med pick when Nursey doesn't have Uber, we might see something, but nothing of the sort has happened as we're going live another round.
With the combo of Krasnik, Nursey, and Katsi, Nursey just is not going to die, and it's going to cause Giraffe to go absolutely ham in these matches.
And so we'll see what they can do as they're going to be opening up. K&D is going to be playing on the blue side. They're going to be setting the time initially this time. Last time they set the defensive side. As Corsa coming out there taking down. Giraffe actually goes down from a headshot there, but it's not going to matter. He's going to be back up in 5 seconds. He's just peeking down that sight line. But we'll see if DK can do another good B hold. We saw both teams doing a solid job here as Yosh gets a better of Boar in that situation. And we'll see what they can do as they might just get a little bit more aggressive off that, not having to deal with the sniper.
Yeah, as I see a little bit of a split push, not between going through B and going through E, but with a couple players trying to go through drop down, and let's see what DK can do as they start to walk up that staircase, or Kids Next Door rather. They're still trying to find a way to get in without getting forced instantly. They're having a little bit of trouble with that, as we see Etney and Slemnish actually flanking from the other side. This is really good play, and this is exactly what I wanted to see right here.
And they're actually starting to push in right as the Uber exchange is happening out from DK, but DK is not giving an inch right now, as Slemnish should go down here as well. He's going to eat that final rocket. DK doing a good job. Carl going down incredibly low, but what'd you see?
Ender took down Spamfest, so they can just wait, reheal, get all of their spawns back up with the gun down, and push back in, like, completely perfectly with no engineer whatsoever on the side of DK. That was an incredibly good play. And Fate takes down Corsa. You know, Corsa and his team not being on the same page. He was trying to go forward and spam. His team was scared because they had no gun. Fate exploiting it, and this should be a fairly comprehensive point for Kids Next Door.
Yeah, this is looking really good for K&D on the blue side as they just continue to just pick up picks right there. As Etney takes down Skis. Was that what exactly? Yeah, what happened there?
Well, the thing about Etney as a player, his DM isn't as scary as some of these Sixes players, but he has such good timing and coordination with the rest of his team. He was just sort of lurking at E waiting. He wasn't going back in himself until DK backed up from the pressure from B, and he was just sitting there in Wishbone right behind them and just demolished Skis and Van, creating that 100% Uber advantage for Nerf.
So we finally see the B point pushed over nice and easy, and we'll see as K&D, can they continue to roll this? They seem to have a much better idea. Currently, they're sitting at about a 70% Uber advantage, but it's dwindling the longer they wait, but I think they're going to use it still in time. Slemnish right below the combo classes, as here comes Uber Charge. Giraffe is going to get way pushed off, but actually might help him as he can get reconnected back up. Nice job there by Nursey to grab it. Corsa goes down, and that's going to open up no demo man here for the defensive side. Kresnik did go down in that exchange. Slemnish is also going to get taken out. Carl jumping down here as the defense is coming out from DK and droves, and they only lost one player in all of that, and what a nice job out of DK, and they're going to get set back up in Wishbone.
Yeah, Nursey did manage to catch Giraffe when he got launched forward, but in the meantime, all the players who weren't Uber got picked off instantly by Boar, and then as they tried to fall back with their numbers down, Van just sort of flanked them and demolished them. So, really nice hold by DK. The problem is, as we've seen, it's not about holding once, it's about maintaining that hold for a really long time. And I don't think K&D is going to give up so easily. I mean, they capped the first 2 points in 2 minutes and 8 seconds, the fastest we've seen so far. They're starting to get some time on. They're just sort of going to slowly surround DK and try to force that Uber, making them defend this E.
Well, Giraffe's currently sitting at Wishbone. We're going to see an Uber charge get popped off here onto the red side. Nursey only sitting at 60%. Got to make sure that she doesn't get caught off in a bad position. But that capture time is up by about like 3/4%. Kresnik is going to at least take down Carl here. He's going to keep revved up, but he's going to end up eating a pill there. As basically everybody went down as well. As did Nursey go down there? Yes, she did to Corsa, I believe. And she's just going to come back up. And so there you go. Nice job by DK there. But they're losing a couple players in that post-Uber fight.
Yeah, a little bit of hubris from DK, thinking, oh, you know, Nursey's dead, we can just run into them. But, you know, when you're fighting against players like Slemnish, that isn't so easy. And Kids Next Door is trying to sort of sell or maybe even go for this full E push as Giraffe is locking down this BC Wishbone Connect. They're getting more cap time. Slemnish is going onto it. And what Kids Next Door is probably going to do here is play this very adaptively. They'll cap it if DK lets them, but if DK tries to contest it, actually, stop that for a second. Board just took down Nurse. That's a huge play.
Yeah, and that's going to prompt the red team to push through here. DK is going to try to defend this, holding on to 100%. They got to make sure not to drop players. As so many players going down, Carl's ultimately get the Uber popped off onto him. He's going to get blasted back there by Katsy, who's going to be able to escape with her life. Ender is going to drop down and end up trading for his. but currently K&D just keeping that pressure up as Carl's overextending way by himself. I'm not sure what happened there, and it gets easily cleaned up by Kresnik, and only 4 players alive here on the defensive. A couple of them are going to come back up on the respawns, but currently Boar on a 22-second respawn wave. And you can see these respawns are going to really start affecting the defensive side as once they start making these bad things, as K&D looking incredibly strong right now.
Yeah, this is getting extremely close. As Corsa does a really good job, he does manage to get in time. If Yosh can take down Corsa here, though, that might be the end of this defense. That's like the most crucial pick now. As Fate takes down Skis again, he just walks through the tunnel. Yosh takes down the Engineer, but Death Troll finally gets in and takes down Nursey. This still is not at all guaranteed to be a perfect E-push. What I'd like to see Kids Next Door do is, yes, try to capture this E, but not fully sell out for it. If they see an opportunity to go get C because DK has rotated every single player here, that's an option as well. That's what I was trying to say earlier before Nursey got picked by Boar. You have to be adaptive on Steel. You might have a goal to go for one objective, but end up getting another based on what the enemy team does. And yeah, I'd like to see at this point. Actually, as I speak, Kids Next Door is going through lockers and through control room and just trying to go around, but it's not working yet. Boar actually takes out Kresnik and Nursey and Etney, so he seems a little pissed off at the bad first half that he had.
And then takes down another. Down goes Yosh, as he's currently on a 4K right there, just going absolutely ham. And that's going to keep this defense up for the DK side. There is ×3 on the back cap here on the C point, since everybody was focused around on that D side. And so they're doing exactly what we were talking about, exactly what you were mentioning, which is that you need to be adaptive, you need to switch, but now they're going to start being contested, and now you need to push people onto the E point, and Slemnish and Etney are doing just that. You need to kind of go back and forth until the team kind of gives a, kind of loosens up there, use the respawn waves against them, because you can see, look at that, Aegis currently sitting at a 13-second respawn, going to be coming back up, but this is not looking too bad for DK, but they just keep seeming to lose players at the wrong times. I'm sorry, K&D lose players at the wrong times.
Not to chastise Giraffe after he did literally 700 damage in the first round, what I'd like to see him do is sort of try to read the other team, go into the other point that DK is not defending, and lock it out with stickies, you know? He's been sort of tunneling slightly on this E point, really obsessed with them capping it. I mean, their whole team has. It's definitely not just Giraffe, but I'd like to see him maybe walk over to C and try to lock the entire DK team out. Ender is sort of setting the ground actually right here. He's actually setting up on C as the other team comes back, but Kresnik for the monster flank. Him and Ender just destroying DK.
As Skis actually went down there to Yosh, and so that's really going to open up not having heals on the defensive side. Corsa down incredibly low underneath of the crates here, but the C point finally looking to go down in the favor of K&D after kind of going back and forth. Taking down the medic seems to be what opened it up for them, as Nursey is currently sitting about maybe a 30% Uber advantage. We'll see if she'll be able to continue to build that enough to use that advantage-wise, but this is good because now once the C point is captured on CP Steel, if you're unfamiliar with this map, that does open up the planks, or whatever you want to call them, that go onto that E point. So now any class can easily get onto that E point, and now it makes it kind of, it's really easy to do split pushes between D and E, as we'll see what they want to do here. Is it looks like K&D. Giraffe actually is going to get dropped
Nursey's
here.
Nursey. Alone.
Oh, she's going to try to go back in. I'm not sure exactly why. It gets easily cleaned up there, and only 3 players alive, though, for DK.
Yeah, this is getting very intense, as I'm no PhD in calculus, but I think Kids Next Door should understand that just because there's only 1 point to cap if you go straight for E doesn't mean you'll necessarily get it faster than the 3 points in a row that you cap if you get C, D, and E. Common mistake to make. It's very easy to understand, but huge amount of cap time for Kids Next Door again. They're going to have to really mount a good defense on DK's side, all coming in from that tunnel area.
Is Boar using the Girardi incredibly effectively, helping his team clean up there. Basically everybody, I think there's 4 people on the point of K&D were Girardi, making them take those mini crits. Draft is going to go down incredibly low right here, but right now you can see the biggest thing for the defensive side. I've been speaking about it, you love talking about it, but it's the respawn waves. Every person who's dying here is getting put on about an 18-second respawn wave. It's really going to hurt this defensive side, as currently 9 players alive here on the offense, and still 4 were waiting to get back up, but K&D is not really utilizing it.
Look at Etney and Nursey. It looks like they want to maybe take this Uber advantage, and I would have liked to see them do what they were about to do, which was go all the way through D and go behind DK, as it looks like they chose not to do so. I wonder if they realize they have this Uber advantage. They're acting like they don't, even though Etney was building very heavily. So, yeah, I would have liked to see them go D with that Uber advantage, and then if DK tries to recontest it, just Uber into their faces. But, yeah, again, I think Kids Next Door is just getting a little too tunnel vision on the E point. You know what I mean? They really could be working both, you know? You don't have to fully commit to either. The rotations are so quick on this map if you're in a good position in the control room like they are.
But actually, they want to trap off Nursey, but oh my gosh, Corsa going huge here, and Nursey is going to be able to get out alive. Corsa does trade for his life, but they want to push through here. Aegis trying to push around the corner is going to have to get an arrow or something to keep himself alive, using that black box well. Ultimately does go down from a sticky of giraffes. But this is looking okay from DK right now as they continue to hold on here. Both teams putting up such great fights when it comes to the defensive side of things, and K&D just losing players. But Skis is a lone ender, out for blood. The engineer wants it. He's gonna kill it. He wants it. He wants to keep going. He ran into the pyro, but he's running through, and down he goes. I love the engineer play. Only 3 players alive here on the defensive side, and this might be it for K&D finally, as they're getting capture time on both points.
Yeah, I was about to say, I really like that decision. I feel like there's absolutely no reason. As you see Ender doing that by himself, he just managed to kill Corsa fully by himself, capping D. Not only is that a huge play by him, but I think it really underscores why you want to be putting pressure at multiple points. You know, spread out the defense. Look at that. DK has no Demo Man now. How are they going to come back in and block the point? The Demo Man's the only class other than the Sniper that can really damage the point effectively without actually having to go onto it himself. And this should finally be the Kids Next Door point. I don't see any way DK can come back into this. They're getting mulched.
Yeah, time 6 onto the point, and down. Oh no, the Spy! He wanted to make a play, almost there. But that's going to be a great time set by DK there on the defensive side. So DK is going to have to beat the time that they held to. They're going to be starting out on offense 10 minutes and 58 seconds here. And Brick, yourself, what were you seeing there? And I know you're kind of talking to me a little bit in Steam chat. So yeah, what were you seeing out there in that round that we just watched?
Just some things that I want to chime in on, mostly in support of what Mustard has been saying with K&D's pushes, where when they are going into B, they don't really have, before the first round, they didn't really have anybody go through the lobby area. And you saw them in the second half do that a lot more with bringing in Etney, Ender, and I believe Slimnish. All 3 of them went through the lobby and flanked and got some good picks on DK. Then also, when they were pushing into E, I can tell you definitely as a player, like playing on teams, when you start putting a lot of cap time on the E point, it becomes very easy to put a lot of the focus on that point, and you really do get tunnel vision with like, well, we already have E halfway capped, so like let's just keep doing it. Let's just keep going E, like sooner or later we're gonna cap it, and then you just get to this point where like you've wasted more time trying to cap one point when you could have just like put your scout and soldier on E, maybe your pyro, got the team to rotate to E, and then go straight C, and then just sticky spam them all off.
So we'll see if they can do that as we're going to be coming into this next round. ×5 onto that A point, as always, uncontested by the defensive side. Or I guess Draft was doing a little bit of damage there. But we'll see what DK can do. They struggled in the first round. DK in the first round didn't even capture anything beyond the B point. But they'll have 10 minutes and 22 seconds to get through the first, or through all 5 points, that is. Yeah. And we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, Yosh taking down Bora. I'm wondering if those sort of picks are going to become emblematic of which sniper is more dominant in a given half or a given round, because as the snipers have gone, so too have the teams. And I find it hard to believe that Candy will be able to hold on for this entire time, but we do see the Uber popped out very early for DK, but they managed to take down the engineer and the soldier and the gun. So if they can kite out for those last couple seconds of the Uber, which they can, this should be a perfect push. Yeah, Candy's going to get completely wiped here.
Yeah, that was a beautiful job. Van taking down Nursey right there, who got popped up into there. I believe that was a sticky that was put underneath of her feet. But what happened there is the big thing that I liked out of that push out of DK is they didn't try to push through the main area, but they pushed through the stairs side. And they're going to keep the pedal to the metal. Only 4 players alive here on the defensive side, and they're already through with the wishbone area. They want to go into the C point. Aegis going in alone. He's actually going to start to cover spawn, as well as Deft, who's going to get a good position to backstab.
Yeah, they're going to get in here in the time that Kids Next Door had to use to swap between spawns, because they all spawned in that forward spawn. As Deftful takes down Nursey again. Yeah, the banner comes in for Etney, but yeah, this is going to be a complete wipe, as DK is clearly not happy about how the first round went. I can tell you that right now. They're steamrolling. And
yeah.
A point I wanted to make on the B point there. DK exploited, I mean, Nursey's obviously an incredible medic, you know, top 3 in, but if Nursey has a single weakness, is that sometimes she will milk Uber for a very long time and not get dropped. She'll stay alive, but she might have a tendency to drop players because she'll kite with whoever she's healing, but if there's someone else that needs to be saved, in that case it was the engineer. I think it becomes a bigger deal in Highlander when there's so many players, but they managed to take out Etney while while Nursey was milking that longer Uber. And this is huge by DK. They have the Uber advantage. They're popping in here. Corsa does get picked off by Faint's Ambi, which is huge. But the E and D capture time is coming in split. And how is Kids Next Door going to react to this?
Well, it looks like they want to defend this E point first because that's currently where the medic is, but the E point is slowly going up in the favor of the Spy as everybody from the DK sides, I'm sorry, K&D is coming down here to defend this. Skis did go down in that exchange thanks to Yosh. So nice job there, at least giving it, but oh! Borg taking down Kresnik on a 2K, or sorry, 3K right there.
Yeah, all of these picks matter hugely. Nursey does have full Uber advantage, but look at how many players they're down. This should, I mean, I don't see Kids Next Door holding it with this much cap time for 8 minutes. It would be a miracle. And I'm prepared to eat my words. I am a caster. We do have this thing known as the caster or commentator's curse that happens quite a bit, but yeah, this is a really nice play by DK. They're coming back into D. They're kiting this Uber somewhat, although Slemnish is doing a lot of damage, but will it be enough? Actually, Slemnish is doing an incredible job of it, where maybe DK should have been ready to kite a little bit farther back than they were there.
Yeah, they committed completely onto that point, but they had to know that they're an Uber disadvantage. I mean, there was no ability, given Ski's positioning and the team's positioning, there was no ability for them to get out of that fight. And so that actually, them going completely onto that D point, I mean, that's the biggest thing I see DK currently doing wrong, is they're committing everybody to D, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but if you're not getting it, but here we go, a lot of respawns coming in, Van leading the charge, taking down Giraffe right there, as well as Kresnik going down, so the two big combo classes down for 22 seconds. Boar peeking around the corner, wants to get a headshot onto Cassie's. They want to continue to aggress here, as Etney goes down as well, so basically all of the damage-dealing classes are down right now, and they're going to open it up as DK pushes through. Cassie goes down as well. Every combo class is down besides Nursey, who's going to be back at spawn, but the D point easily going to go down in the favor of DK with those one-by-one picks.
Deathtroll forces out the Uber. Look at this. This is a comedy of errors. Slemnish is forced to come back in, and yeah, they're just going to get mulched. This is definitely going to be a DK round. There's absolutely no way that Kids Next Door manages to hold this for any conceivable length of time. Of course, if he stays out, he's going to get stuck in, and yeah, they're going to get that terrible spawn. Kids Next Door has to go all the way around. They have to come out of D. They're going to go through this tunnel, and they're going to get destroyed. I think this has to be the round.
Yeah, it would definitely seem the way. The course that gets eaten up by the pit there. So no
Draft
Devilman here.
Too, though.
Oh, actually, I'm sorry, that was Giraffe I saw. I miscalled that, as Kresnik's going to try to contest that point, but not having a Devilman to contest this actually is a huge loss, because the Devilman can so easily contest this. Down goes Etney, so no splash damage class is currently up right now, as Ender is trying to make some plays, as K&D fighting for their life right now, trying to put everybody on the point, but every time they die, they're getting put on those 20-second respawn waves, and I just can't see them holding on to here, as the DK just keeps respawning, keeps putting people forward, using the teleporters. They should eventually be able to capture this.
Incredible play by Boar from that window. Feint was actually coming behind him to backstab him because Boar was not running Razorback. And in the time that Feint walked up the stairs to backstab Boar, Boar probably got 4 more picks before Feint could get to him. That was unreal. I do think Skis is going to be able to use this Uber to successfully ward off Kids Next Door when they come in for this one last attempt. At least he should be able to if he doesn't drop everyone. But yeah, I think this. I don't want to curse it. I don't want to curse it, but Corsa's doing a good job keeping out the heavy.
Yeah, and using flashing on the point slowed it down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough to stop it, and there you go. DK is going to take this second round, putting this to an overtime in this first map of CP Steel picked by DK.
I will say this, even though DK looked awful in that first attack, even though, you know, they failed so many pushes in a row, one thing I will say to their credit overall is I do think they look more comfortable pushing off of Uber than Kids Next Door do. When the Uber situations aren't in play, DK is capable on the blue side of getting extremely aggressive and just really capitalizing on their better spawns, and on the fact that, frankly, the impetus is on them to push on an attack-defend map. And they're just getting in, they're getting favorable trades, or if they're not, they're using the sort of even trades to come back in and keep the relentless pressure up, and eventually it's going their way.
And they're doing a great job at it. As we're pulling up the logs here, and currently, actually, we kind of did a switch there, as Van is currently top fragging as well as with Boar. So I believe the sniper, Yosh, was on top last time. Now Boar is setting his pace, as where is Yosh? A couple pegs down there. But Brick coming in here, what did you see in that round by DK?
What I saw was, as Mustard said, Nursey has that tendency to kind of milk Ubers, and not so much as drop Ubers, but drop players, which is really bad when you're defending. Not so bad when you're attacking, because you can kind of give up those players. They respawn real quickly, and milking those Ubers is a good idea on offense, because then you can get like a scout or solo scout, solo demo, that sort of deal, and just damage players, and then your respawns is coming right behind you for the post-Uber fight. But on defense, it's definitely bad, and DK played their offense perfectly. After they wiped KMD, instead of trying to put focus on the E point, they just went straight C, and they just put all the focus there, because they knew by the time that they got to C and got set up there, that KMD was just going to be spawning to try to defend it, and you cannot defend that C point if you're spammed out by a demo, soldier, and heavy. And then instead of just trying to put all their focus on the ABCE cap, they went straight D, because they had 8 minutes or 7 minutes to cap the last points. And when you have that much time, you might as well try to cap as many points as you can possibly cap. And then what I liked about what they did as well is they split the caps between the two teams, or between the two flicks. You had the combo that went straight for the D point. You had Carl and Skis and Corsa, and they were sitting on that D point trying to force the opposing combo to push right into them, so that their scout and their soldier and their spy, I believe I saw Joe sitting on the point of the E, just kind of milking time down, while I believe I saw Aegis kind of just shooting rockets kind of over in Wishbone. But that's what you want to do, is you want to split the cap time between 2 points, whether it's BE, CE, or DE. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket, because when you have that sort of deal, then it's just going to be real easy for the defending team to focus you down. And when they have to fight a war in two fronts, that's not something that you're going to do successfully.
Absolutely. I mean, that's one of the best strategies you can have to steal, is just constantly split the enemy team, because the combo classes can't be in two places at once, and they tend to be the best ones to defend the different points. And coming into this final round, I put a quick poll out into chat, but I'm curious to hear you guys. Mustard, coming into this overtime round of the first map of Steel, who do you think is going to take it? Do you think DK is going to take it as we go into Vanguard next, or do you think K&D is going to come back?
I'm sort of riding the DK hype train at the moment. I think that the way that they messed up, I'm sorry, I almost needed to drop $1 in the swear jar. The way they messed up their first round was such an aberration in terms of how many pushes, Uber and non-Uber, they just completely beefed. I think Skis' lag, combined with some mental anguish, had to be coming into play. They were just getting completely annihilated. It just seemed so uncharacteristic of a high-plat team, and I feel like when the team sort of settled down, DK's playstyle just fits this map so much better. One thing I wanted to point out is, Sigafu, I'm a demo main. I'm a very heal-heavy demo. I'm a very aggressive demo. I play very similarly to Giraffe and Highlander, I would say. But at the same time, there are certain maps and certain situations where a pocket heavy can be useful, and Carl is just getting to exploit those a lot on this map. When they sort of get ground and the candy has to walk back into them, into a choke, into Carl's close range damage, he is getting the heal beam on him, so that he's getting 2 kills at least in every single one of those situations. And conversely, Giraffe is doing tons and tons of damage, but when he gets picked by a pick class, Nursey is often alone. And that's one of the reasons why I think Nursey's actually been picked off a lot more this round, is because she's being caught out in the times when Giraffe just goes down instantly. And that just seems to... When Giraffe goes down, it seems to be such a fast determinant of DK taking a point. Whereas when Corsa goes down, we've seen that DK is sometimes able to hold it off. So I think both demos need to be careful about not dying as much, but I think that DK's playstyle just might be a little bit more suited to Steel overall, first round notwithstanding.
So you're on the DK train. Brick, I'll bring you in here as we're opening up into this next round. Not a lot of action's going to happen, as the 8 points going to be pretty much taken for free. Brick, my boy, who do you think's going to be taking this round in the overtime round?
The team that started on the red team first has won the round, so I'm going to have to go with KD. I know I voted 2-0 for DK, but that starting on defense first is a pretty big difference for teams when winning or losing. And then also to point out something, Giraffe has taken 413 damage per minute versus Corsa's 268. So if Corsa goes down, there's a lot of healed players and buffed players on DK, where if Giraffe goes down, there's not so much.
We'll see. We're going to see the Uber charge used out here, and then we'll see which one of you is right, DK or K&D. As Nursey takes a little bit of damage, Carsa goes down, and actually he's in a really weird spot. Presnick eating a lot of damage. Buffbender is going to come out here, as actually Nursey's going to get caught in. Down she goes, Ban with a beautiful play, as Skis did go down there as well. So both medics down, but it's going to favor ultimately the offense due to the respawn waves. Spamfest moving up his gun, but faints right behind him. Down he goes. The Spy's not able to connect on to the heavy, with only 3 players left alive here onto the B point. DK should be able to take this pretty cleanly.
Yeah, as Boar takes down the gun, and Yeah, that was just a beautiful initial Uber. It actually went worse than I thought for DK because Skis managed to get air blasted into a wall. But when your Uber gets that much damage and such an early force off on blue, you just have such a good time.
Yeah, and we'll see what they can do as they're doing a really good job taking onto that point. And because of that respawn wave, Ski's actually sitting up at about a 25% Uber advantage. Kresnik's going to get caught out here. I don't know what he wanted to do. It looks like he wanted to defend that B point, but maybe he got caught in too long. And so now he's going to be down for this next point as DK, if they can roll this quickly, the overcharge continues to grow right now as they're currently still holding on to 30% and it's going up a little bit more. Only a mini sentry defending as Spamfest gets cleaned up there by a sticky trap as Corsa wants to go and holding on to 100%. Here it comes. They want to clean out the K&D side as Yosh goes down. No sniper here to defend. Ender's going to have his gun cleaned up here as ×2 onto the point by Van, but K&D's not done. They're not out of it. 90% as they're holding on to as Kresnik gets cleaned up. Boar doing a great job as Giraffe wants to push back out here with Nursey, and they're going to do just that. Or are they? They want to hold on to here. They're waiting as long as they can. They're baiting the point, and here they come out. Devilman and Scout Ubercharge is going to come out here. Carl's going to get focused down nice and easy, but Aegis as well as Van went behind the scenes taking down Yosh, and this is a little bit of a cute play coming out from each side, but K&D doesn't look like they're going to come out on top as Nursey goes down. Beautiful play there as they wrapped him as he pushed out from the point.
Yeah, Candy's sort of underestimating Dunning-Kruger. It seemed like as if they thought that Skis with his boneheaded first round would forget if they took long enough to push back in that Candy would have the Uber advantage at that point, but he was well aware. The combo was so far back of DK, they were able to kite the Uber successfully and then use their numbers to come back in and completely encircle the Kids Next Door team, and now they're pushing through that death hallway as it's sometimes called, but death for which team? We'll find out with that Uber advantage coming in for Corsa as he's getting some nice pipes on Ender, and this could be a fairly quick round for DK if they keep this momentum going.
But they don't realize that Slemnish and Kresnik is right behind the enemy combo, and he comes in holding down that key. He's revving up, and he's taking down so many players. I believe that was a 3K of him taking them down, and that's going to give the Uber advantage back in the hands of Nursey, currently sitting at 50% holding in this upper area as a ×1 from Aegis going on to this point, but they need some E capture points. I mean, we've been talking about this all game. Both teams have not been doing a great job of focusing down both caps. I mean, this is where I'd like to see Spamfest, the engineer, maybe not playing with his team, but maybe playing away, getting up a mini sentry, doing something like that. But currently, we'll see what they can do as Nursey holding on to that 100%, holding about 60% charge ahead.
Yeah, that was a bit of a beef by DK. I don't know what more to say. Etney had a really nice push, and yeah, let's see if they can rebound.
I mean, K&D is doing a good job here as they're retaking this lobby area, and it's going to force DK into a little bit of a interesting position because either they're going to have to Uber in here and try to fight in lobby. Giraffe actually might be caught in here, might actually have to force the Uber out as actually he goes down. Nursey didn't ultimately want to save him, holding on to that 100%, but now no Demoman here for another 18 seconds, and that should open it up for DK to push through. And actually they drop Kresnik as well.
Picks, this should be huge. The Uber is ever so slightly longer for Nursey, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think this is going to be DK's push, and ultimately DK's D point. I would like to see them use this to actually take D. I feel like the opportunity is there. Ooh, nice pick by Boar. I was about to say that could get really messy because DK's flank was going in before their combo and dying to that gun, but looks like it's probably not going to matter. Good work by DK recovering, getting that point, and let's see how Kids Next Door is going to be able to hold E with so many of their players still down.
And once the D point does get captured here, it does shut down the spawn doors right outside the east side, so it just makes it that much harder when it comes to Kids Next Door for the defending. 5 minutes through the first 4 points, and they are looking to continue on here. Currently sitting at about 88%. Carl sitting right outside the switchbone. Death coming in. He does take down Giraffe, and that's a huge pick because no demo man here for the defensive side. I mean, that's so easy to spam. And look at Corsa. He's just spamming out the K&D side for free. As the Uber pop is gonna come out here onto Corsa. It's gonna chasing through. He wants to get something. Edney is gonna pop that conch, I believe, as he's coming into that lower area. As Kresnik's re-pushing back in, and that Uber charge maybe was a little bit too soon, as this point does take so incredibly long to do, but Giraffe is still not to the front lines to defend this.
Yeah, and Carl did an incredibly good job of spamming out that lower area. Although Giraffe is finally managing to come back in, and he actually got that vantage point up high, and there was no one to focus him down. I would have liked to see a player like Aegis or something prioritize getting on Giraffe, because obviously he is sort of the linchpin of this defense with his ability to block the point so effectively. And we see Giraffe is still getting very aggressive, but yeah, nice job by Aegis picking him off, and I don't think Candy's going to be able to withstand that. As this is going to be a DK round.
The Girardi did come out on point, but time 6, yeah. I mean, Edney's going to have a miracle play here. He's not going to get there in time. Nursey went down just a little bit prior, but it's not going to matter. 6 minutes and 12 seconds is the fastest time. I mean, to take us back to the first point, DK couldn't even... They took 4 minutes to push through the first 2 points, and they got through all 5 in 6 minutes. You can just see these teams, they're figuring each other out. They're figuring out what they need to do. And we'll bring in Brick here real quick. What did you see going right there for DK as they did such a good time for the first 5 points there?
As Mustard said, Nursey has had that tendency to drop players rather than drop Ubers. And we saw with the Behold there, well, she did end up dying, but when they were holding in the lobby in between E and C, or E and D, Nursey ended up dropping Giraffe because she didn't want to pop Uber, because she didn't think that they could get in a good position to deny Skis or force Skis' Uber. And then while doing that, also dropped Kruznik, which then made that there was nobody to really protect her outside of Solemnish. And one scout is not going to be able to kill an entire combo of DK. It's just not, especially in a close counter area.
And so we'll see what K&D can do on the offensive side here. They have not really had, ever really between any of the games, a great offense. I mean, they did take all 5 points, but it was at like about a 10-minute time.
And they're pushing it a little bit early, at least slightly, because they got Boar, but it's not going to quite work. I do want to point out that last round was by far the best round Corsus had so far on the map. He had sort of added another element to DK's offense with his huge damage output. He actually outdamaged Giraffe that round. And that was the first time that's been the case. So let's see if he can continue, if his Ubers can continue to be as effective, as Giraffe gets taken out before the Uber dropped slightly, and this is not looking great for Kids Next Door right now.
Yeah, as the counter Uber is going to come off on the defensive side, they're going to push back Kruznik from this upper area. I like that style of pushing, but it doesn't seem to be working, and especially not having your demo man to be able to create space. The other thing that I thought worked well for K&D before is when they had Etney come behind at the same time as Uber pushes. Etney currently is sitting behind the enemy team as Spamfest does lose his level 3 gun, but having your flank classes come in from behind while an Uber push happens at this point tends to be fairly effective, but Kids Next Door just a little bit slow right round, just kind of figuring out what they want to do, but they don't have a lot of time with 5 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, and Etney's style here, as you can see, is more like waiting for an opening, as he's trying to get down the gun, but it's backups level 2. He actually is doing a ridiculous amount of damage to Spamfest in addition to the gun. Spamfest goes down to 45 health, so Etney being a good nuisance here, but Death Troll, recognizing the danger, goes behind him and stabs him. So smart play by Death Troll. I'd like to see at least one more person helping out Etney, maybe Ender, maybe Slemnish, I'm not sure. Even Catsy.
They've had the flank classes traditionally with him. Ender is going to be rotating around to that side, as we just saw another Uber exchange happen out on the front side, but the Uber exchanges on the B side have not really been doing anything. I mean, I would love to see classes running forward, but Skis did eat a pipe there. He went down incredibly low. He's going to be standing next to that dispenser, eating a sandwich back up to 100%, but no one's able to follow that up. Kruznik actually is behind. As Slemnish.
Feint gets the gun, sap and stab, very nice play.
And that's going to open up for Giraffe, as he's going to be pushing through here. But it's only 3 players here getting aggressive. Actually, Giraffe down incredibly low, disconnected from Nursey, who doesn't want to peek too far. Ultimately does eat an arrow to get himself back up. Nobody has 100% Uber right now, so we're just going to kind of see a raw defense on this point. We'll see what they can do, as Giraffe wants to push onto this. No engineer still up for this defensive side. And DK, they're falling into that choke area. They have to be careful not to fall too back in there, as Nursey, 100%.
And Kruznik is actually on the flank with his team this time, as Feint takes down Skis and Corsa. That's enormous.
Yeah,
that's the second kill. I'm wondering if it was a face stabber. Of course, it really took that long to turn around. There are a lot more face stabs I've noticed with the new movement speed, but
the big thing here right now is they're going to capture this point, but each point does take a long time to capture. And with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left in the clock, I mean, if you're K&D, you got to think a little bit. I mean, you can still do the vitamin push, A, B, C, D, E, but you might want to be thinking about maybe just going for a pure E push at some point, because you do not have a lot of time to work with.
Yeah, although I will say if you go for a pure E push, the best time to do it is arguably before you even cap B, because you can spawn camp that door that gets back out of E on the little platform. A lot of teams actually, if they want to go straight to E, they choose to do that before capping anything. But yeah, I think the thing about K&E, the reason it took them a little bit longer there, was that they were sending their players behind through E while the Uber trade was going on, as opposed to off Uber. If they just did a non-Uber push and pincered DK, I think that would have been extremely effective. It took them a little while to do it, and ultimately Feint bails them out with some incredible picks. I think it was really all due to him that they managed to finally cap that B point. As we see Yosh take down Spamfest, and the Uber is coming in from Nursey, using that Uber advantage, but not a ton of picks so far.
And actually, Aegis is right above her. Nursey going down to half HP. Aegis not able to capitalize on that kind of poor, I wouldn't say poor positioning on Nursey, but potential poor positioning. As Nursey actually down to 40 HP. Deft is trying to make a play right there, but not able to connect on too much. As Kresnik onto the point, 2 minutes left in the clock here for K&D. If they lose this round, they're going to lose this first map, and they're losing so many players right now. Nursey down incredibly low, as the soldier's going to be chasing them into that E point. Nursey running for her life. She's going up the stairs, running for help. But the Spamfest, the engineer, is the cleanup crew, as he is saying thanks for that free pick, as that is looking very good for DK right now. So that is going to give Skis about a 30% advantage right now.
Schwing, Sigafu just got incredibly aroused by that play. But, I mean, I know you love to see those combat engineers just dominating medics.
Well, I mean, it's good awareness. Spamfest knowing where, because that's top level play. I mean, it looks really simple on the thing, but, Spamfest knew where Nursey was going to go. He knew what Nursey wanted to do, and he preempted it and got her before she was able to get into a safer position. So really nice job there by Spamfest cleaning that up, but obviously that was set up by everybody else getting the early damage. But Skis!
Feint got Skis and Boar again. Nursey, meanwhile, showing off her corresponding spy awareness and taking down Deathtrolled. As is Kidsix going to potentially do this? Do they have a chance? It is only Sluggish on the cart now, but who's going to stop it?
Yeah, and Corsa does go down. No Demo Man. Times 4 onto his point. Pain Train onto the Soldier class. DK just getting some respawns up, but this isn't looking very good right now. Times 2. The Scout's going to capture this, and K&D sneaks away on this E point, and they are going to take the first map away from DK.
And simultaneously, they just neutered Carl's trash talk. Carl typing in chat, looks like we need to beat you on Viaduct. Calm down, buddy. You just lost the map. I have no problem with trash talk, but come on. Walk away with your tail between your legs, man. I will say, that last round, Feint MVP by far. He completely cracked every single one of DK's holds with a chain stab on Skis and a second player. At one point it was Skis and Corsa, at another point it was Skis and Boar. You know, if your spy is wreaking havoc like that on Steel, you're gonna have a good time.
So we'll bring our man in that we do every time as we are getting done with Steel. That was a best of 3. We're going to be moving on to Vanguard in this next map, and it's going to be playing 1/2 best of 4 as we will see what we can do here. Let's talk about these logs. I mean, what are you seeing here early on as you saw that final round? And I guess maybe that's a better question, Brick. What happened there at the end that allowed K&D to win the game?
The picks by Feint, purely. I was actually sitting here and I was going to be like, all right, I'm going to commend Skis and Boar because I feel like the reason why they lost the first round was because of those two players. Skis was dying a lot, which means he was dropping players a lot. He was dropping Ubers a lot, which means his entire team was dying. And then Boar was just not playing well at all. And he turned it up the second round, the round that they won, and he did a lot better in the overtime round. And I was going to give them like that gold star, be like, hey, you guys, you really kicked it up a notch and you played a lot better. But Feint absolutely stole the show with his key picks. Doesn't really have the greatest stats, 10 kills, 15 deaths. It doesn't look like he did much. But the picks that he got, where he was able to kill Skis and Corsa on the B point, that made K&D be able to cap the B. Because of those picks, they were able to push into C, and they were able to cap C after having a very fight in between DK and K&D, and then with that pushing into last was able to get some more picks on Skis at just very critical moments of the game where they really needed a heal beam and a demo man up to be spamming the point.
Yeah, and to build on what Brick said, if you look at Feint's stats, the reason he only had 10 kills is because he actually only got 3 on the defensive side, which was some of the lowest in the game. But he actually got 7 of those 10 kills on offense, which was actually by far the most of anyone, or not by far, but the most of anyone in that second round. And actually on his team, Etney and Ender, both had 5 kills as well. And those 3 were far and away ahead of the rest of their team. It was these flank and pick classes that were really doing the work for Kids Next Door. Their Ubers were not that effective, but they kind of got bailed out, to be honest. And that's just the way Steel goes sometimes. That's love it or hate it. A lot of people don't like the way it can swing on on the drop of a petty or the drop of an Uber, and that's just how the nature of attack defend maps, to be honest.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that was DK's round. Like if I was sitting here watching that, I felt like the entire time that DK won that map, that this was their game, and I feel like this was more so DK losing that round than more so K&D. Because if I was to say K&D won that round, it was purely because of Fanes and not really much of anybody else like drafted real well. But if you look at the rest of the stat pages outside of Ender and Eddie being able to stay alive and deal significant damage, Kresnik didn't really have a very significant impact. Yosh didn't really have one either. Katsy or Slemnish, this looked more so like a DK game, and K&D just kind of stole it from them.
Yeah, it definitely did, and it's one of those things that we always talk about why medics are so important when it comes to any game mode, whether it's 6v6 or Highlander, but medics can really turn the tide of the game, and especially in game modes like that where momentum can be so huge. But it was also kind of set up too by K&D already just putting that capture time onto that point. But looking at the logs here, you kind of already touched a little bit onto the muster. Is there any other kind of stat lines that kind of jump out at you of players who kind of stepped up, or anything that just is kind of surprising about the stats from that final round?
Well, it's kind of funny that Slemnish, he actually ended up bottom fragging in the game in that last round, and you saw corresponding messages from him in the chat talking about how much he hated the map, and I think that's a good point, because Kids Next Door, since picking up Slemnish and since gearing their team towards that more like DM style, has sometimes struggled on maps where Scout is not traditionally a carry. I'm talking maps like Upward or Steel. Meanwhile, maps like Viaduct or Vanguard, as we're about to see, Slemnish is able to do a ridiculous amount of work. And you would think that that would be a hindrance to them, but they managed to get around it. And I guess it just shows, the sort of the veteran ability of Kids Next Door in the Highlander game mode, They really won that with their Highlander classes, and Etney, who's very much a Highlander soldier, playing well. So, there's something to be said about that.
Now, about yourself, Brick, kind of looking through the stats from that final round, is there any kind of storylines that kind of pop out to you?
Not so much, really. It's just DK really had that with their combo playing really well, their flank playing really well, and K&D was just able to make the bigger plays at the right moments, and that's really all it takes in Highlander to win games. It doesn't matter about stats. I could tell you that much, like playing product a lot against higher level teams where I've been on a team that had significant more kills, significant more damage than the opposing team, but it doesn't matter in the end if your team is just not like getting the right at the right time. And as I can say, we all saw that week 2 against DK with Bo significantly having more damage and kills than DK, but DK is still coming out and winning the game.
Yeah, we'll see what they can do. So we're moving on to Vanguard now, which is a little bit of a map. Obviously, Steel plays in the stopwatch game mode. One team sets a time, the other one tries to match it, but in an attack-defense style. This one is just, I guess you could say almost purely attack-defense, but not in the TF2 way. But we'll be playing the 5CP map, which is going to bring out different classes in this. And as we come in here, Vanguard, it's also a newer map. For both teams, or at least I think this is the first year that Vanguard is being put in, or maybe the second year. I think it was in the fall season, a season or two ago. But coming on here, Mustard, who are the classes that you saw kind of in the last game, and the classes that we should be looking out for on the K&D side?
Well, I'll start by saying, Sigafu, that the last time that Vanguard was played was also the very first time I've watched Vanguard, so don't make me out to be an don't mistake me, please, dear stream viewers, for being an expert on this particular map. But I will say that with the limited sample size of the match against Boat in the lower bracket finals, number 1, period, Slemnish, just completely destroying. He was consistently getting behind, which, getting behind as Scout is not always a guarantee of getting kills in Highlander with all the mini sentries and heavies and pyros running around, but he was able to convey those flanks into like ridiculous 2K, 3K runs all the time. He ended the map with something like 44 kills, I think like good 15 more than the next person on his team. So Slemnish is number 1, the person I would watch out for. Other than that, on Kids Next Door, I would say Feint and Ender both looked particularly good on this map. Feint getting some really crucial picks, as he did on Steel. Ender really taking over control of the midpoint and making it almost impossible for any team to push back into mid once Kids Next Door had it. And Kids Next Door was playing some very passive mids and just sort of counter-aggressing, and I want to see if they're able to do that against a better opponent.
All right, we're going to be starting up here. Before we go to the mid, real quick, Brick, who do you think is going to win this map?
I want to say DK again, but I've seen better team play more so out of K&D outside the few drops from Nurse or player drops from Nursey. But I'm just gonna go with is it 1/2, so 4-3?
Yep.
I think you go 4-3.
Wow, that's going to be a lot of rounds to get in. We'll see if we can do that as we're getting into this first mid-fight. Currently, the stats, or the poll that I put up into the chat there has it at 50-50, so everybody's a little bit undetermined, but right now, this mid-fight's looking pretty determined for the DK side. Kresnik's going to go down. Nursey's able to escape with her life, and about 20% of Uber advantages. Skis went down to about 50 health there, but able to keep himself alive, as they're going to be able to capture this point and hopefully move on here, but with Nursey having that 100%, they might be able to defend the second point.
Yeah, I have to say, DK did win that mid-fight, but Candy did a lot of things that was indicative of what I expected. I mean, they lost Giraffe immediately to a backstab, and they still barely lost that mid with Slemnish flanking and getting a couple quick kills. And meanwhile, we see Feint and Yosh, the two snipers of Kids Next Door, getting some nice picks. Slemnish also taking down this spot, and also taking down Carl, so we're sort of seeing the flank run amok. Skis never actually popped his Uber. He's going to get forced surely here. Now he manages to get out, but I don't think he's going to be able to get back into this midpoint, and he's going to have to use his Uber to repush.
Well, everybody's going to actually respawn exactly where Skis is. He actually ran all the way back, and with times 8, they're going to capture this mid-fight. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see a recontest because they are right outside of it. Skis holding on to 100%, and here Corsa comes in over the top. He's actually going to get way disconnected from his combo. He's going to go down in this push. I'm not sure exactly what that was. It seemed like they wanted to make a play, but they ultimately got nothing for it. As Spamfest is going to get forward, he's going to get onto that point, at least kind of doing this, and it's actually kind of forcing K&D to back off here because they know they're at an Uber disadvantage.
The thing I didn't notice, Corsa bombed in not with the Uber, but ahead of the Uber, which normally should be disastrous, but somehow it worked out. Skis did not have to pop his Uber. I guess it has to do with the weird shape of this midpoint. It's actually a pretty short distance to walk. So when Corsa bombed out, their team was immediately able to get in behind him and lock out Kids Next Door as they backed up to deal with Corsa. So maybe they know something I don't about the way this particular map works.
Yeah, it's definitely a little bit of an odd kind of situation, but actually Kresnik goes down there. Snow heavy here for the K&D side as we're seeing DK slowly pushing on to the second point. Both medics holding on to 100% Uber, nursing a good spot as Uber is going to come off onto Slemnish. He's going to be trying to chase down Carl, who is disconnected from the entire defensive team here. DK trying to get back in as Uber's popped off on their side. It's a little bit better. They're getting some decent damage. His Giraffe might be able to get caught in, but Corsa eating a pipe there underneath of his feet, but fortunately he was Ubered, not able to do it, but Corsa goes down with a nice reflect from Katsy, and it looks like K&D might successfully hold onto this point given Etney's position.
Yeah, and I have to say, one player who's been doing very well so far is Van. He's actually been sort of hunting out Slemnish and taking fights versus him, and he's sort of neutralized him. He hasn't completely stopped Slemnish, but he's limited his impact to just the average scout so far. And DK is surging forward behind some picks from Boar. He takes down Katsy. Giraffe manages to take down Spamfest, but Boar takes down Kresnik. We're seeing just a lot of nice picks from Boar coming in. Slemnish wins the 1v1 this time, and it looks like this might just be a second hold for DK. I don't know if they're going to be able to push the last off of this.
Yeah, they're currently also down about 20% on that Uber, so they're not going to be able to get too aggressive, but it's very unusual to see teams push out aggressively with such low Uber advantage. But here we go, Giraffe is at least peeking it for free. He wants to at least try to get some spam down, not able to connect with too much, as we're kind of coming into our first somewhat stalemate as both teams holding on to 100% Uber as Corsa flying into the air. Here comes Uber Charge actually off onto the Giraffe. Corsa gets reconnected back up with his mechs, but going to be pushing it alone as Keith finally gets back up to him again. He's going to start to get healed up as we might see a little bit of an off Uber push here from both teams and see what they want to do in this post-Uber fight.
Yeah, Slemnish did go down really early there, but it looks like Candy was not able to, or DK rather, was not able to follow up on that. It seems like the thing about this last push is, once you get in, it's actually not that hard to win because the cap point is so close to the entrance, but it's very hard to enter in through those chokes unless you have some sort of advantage, and with just a one-player advantage, DK was not able to push. Let's see if they have a strategy for cracking this, if they're just going to Uber in, if they're going to sack, if they're going to wait for a spy play.
Yeah, I mean, currently they are on a little bit of an Uber advantage because I believed... Yeah, I mean, yeah, they have just a little bit of an Uber advantage. Not a lot to push off of, but if they go literally as soon as they hit 100%, they might be able to catch Nursey off guard and maybe make a play out of this. Currently, Giraffe and Nursey holding in this upper forward area. And actually, Course is pushing around the corner. They have 100%. They want to use it. Nursey only sitting at 90%, but they're not going to use it in time. Currently, they're just kind of peeking this. Actually, trying to work Boar into this angle, see if he can get a pick. But ultimately, he goes down from a headshot from Feint from across the second point. As Uber Charge does come out, as Skis went down. I believe that was a headshot from Feint across the map, as they are going to take over this upper area. But we'll see if they'll be able to hold it, as Nursey does still have that 100%. They're pushing behind. Down goes Skis, as they're going to take onto this second point. A lot of players going down, but Van going in, trying to get onto his final point. But the level 3 Sentry Gun is able to defend this, as K&D is going to take the second point with quite an interesting push, doing a little bit of a ring around the Rosie style.
Yeah, and also Slimnish and Nursey taking full advantage of that new medic scout buff. Or I don't know how new it is anymore. It's been about a month or a couple of weeks at least, but you know, with the fact that the medic while healing a scout moves at the same speed as that scout, for those not aware, Nursey just followed Slimnish there, on his path of destruction, and Slimnish doing some really good damage, actually running in and taking down Corsa. That should lead, in my opinion, to a decent push from Kids Next Door. Hopefully they don't beef this, because they have that full demo pick. They should be able to just get on the midpoint here.
Yeah, they don't have Slimnish right now, who's really good at leading the charges and creating space as Spamfest runs in for his life. Van gets cleaned up there, as DK looks like they want to defend this, but they're kind of only half doing it. They're losing so many players in the process. Skis now has to be careful that he's not going to die here, as Nursey currently at about a 20% Uber advantage, and they should be able to roll this from the mid, already on to the next point, as Course is setting up a sticky trap, but he's not going to get anything with it. Only 3 players left alive here from DK. They did come up on the respawn, but they actually all decide to back off. Wise decision there, but the second point will go down in the favor of KD, and this is only the first round, as Ubercharge actually going into this final point, a little bit of an early pop there. I'm not sure if they'll be able to sustain this push, as Ski's down to 56 HP, pops his Uber in response to back them off, and I'm not really sure who this will benefit.
They did get Corsa on Kids Next Door's side, but I don't. Is that going to be enough to use? They are getting more picks. Is this doable? That's the question.
Yeah, they want to keep working it in here. They're working their way into this upper area, but they're eating a lot of damage in the meantime. Carl doing a good job. Yeah, and that Melk is helping Carl sustain his push. Great job there, actually, from Van, using the Melk, allowing Carl just to keep himself holding down that one key. And actually, Skis goes down incredibly low here. Nice job by Draft. Draft takes him out. Down goes Skis. No Medicure on the defensive side, as DK is trying to hold on to this final point. This is not looking good for them right now. Though KD is only 5 players alive. They have Giraffe at least try to work this forward, but they're missing a lot of key classes. But we'll see what they can do. And they currently hold on to 100% right now. They're down players though, so they might wait for the respawns and then push in.
And you know that young Slim is going to get part of this Uber. You know that he's going to be leading this charge. After he deals with this annoying spy, of course. Yeah, and I just think a Slimnish Uber could be really devastating here as he gets Ubered in by Nursey almost. They're waiting for Giraffe to come in as well. They're switching doors. They're being a little hesitant.
Yeah,
Come on, guys. Go slam
They just want to figure out where they want to go, and it looks like they're going to be going up onto this fence side. Actually, a little bit of an interesting push. We haven't seen this between the games that we casted, but here we go. Ubercharge is going to be coming in outside of the spawn into the upper area. Down goes Aegis, no soldier here for this final push, but they still haven't really gotten too much. The sentry gun is still being kept alive as Nursey goes down incredibly low, trying to get away with her life, as the sentry gun still keeping up. Slimnish is dancing up there, as I don't know what KD is doing. They're trying to keep the sustained push behind enemy line. Slimnish times 2 on the point, takes down the engineer. Nobody's there to contest it, and down he goes despite 5 DK players alive. None of them are there to contest that point, and KD comes down with the first round.
And Slimness once again showing off why. Vanguard is a very fearsome map for the young man. The young man who was born the same year that SpongeBob premiered. Gorgeous young gamer, you know, making his place in the world. And yeah, let's see if DK can respond. They actually had a decent mid last time. They're starting to peek in. It's a little bit tentative so far. Boar is looking for a sniper angle. Nothing's really happened yet. Both teams are just sort of scoping it out, getting ground, but no one wants to be the first team to run on the point. Slimnish does go down first, though. I'm telling you right now, that has to be DK's mid, right? Slimnish is just doing so much work.
He absolutely has. Actually, I brought up the logs just to kind of peek a little bit ahead of time. Slimnish currently at 13 frags. The closest person to him is at 9 with Boar, and then everybody else is just that much further away. Slimnish doing so much work. I think DK's really, that's going to be the pace of their game. I mean, DK just needs to be a little bit faster on their pushes, I think, but ultimately I think it's Slimnish who needs to be kept down in order for DK to find success, and they're finding success as they take the midpoint, holding on to 100%. Only 3 players down, 3 key players down for KD.
Giraffe.
And so they're going to give up the second point for free.
Boar actually pushed forward ahead of his team and focused down Giraffe. He just took him down with a full charge body shot, so that was what enabled DK to get this point. But yeah, this last point, it seems like you almost have to wait for the other team to make a mistake, and then it just leads to a really nice push. But we see DK trying to work their way in. It looks like it's going to be an Uber trade. I don't know who's going to get the better of this. Looks like Skis has to split significantly more, so let's see if Kizixor can capitalize on it. Not so much so far. It might just be a reset.
Yes, Carl went all the way down into that final point, KD backing off in that upper area. And so, yeah, just we've kind of seen a lot of just like trades, but nothing really happening. And one of the reasons I think that happens is that there's just so many different areas to hide. But right now, DK lost a lot of players in that fight. Slimish is not down here, or not up for KD, and so that's going to be, I mean, might slow them down. Is Edney dying there to Boar? I'm not sure exactly what happened there. He's had full HP. And this is, but DK's holding on.
Seems like Boar knows which way his bread is buttered. He's focusing Slemnish every time he gets a hold of the young scout prodigy, and that's probably going to stall Candy's push out of here. Without Slemnish to lead and sort of make room, this off-Uber push is extremely hard to do. You see, as soon as Slemnish is back up, they're starting to probe again, but I think it's going to be too late now with the Ubers back up.
Yeah, and currently Skis is holding on to about a 15% Uber advantage, but I don't think they know where Nursey is to make utilization of it, as Nursey's, holding in a completely different area. So it's just going to be another Uber trade, but the question is how do they want to trade it? It looks like it's going to be Corsa in this upper area. Actually, yeah, I mean, they're doing so much poking and prodding, but nobody, a little cat and mouse game of who wants to pop first, but nobody really wants to do it as Slemnish going down incredibly low. Actually, Draft goes down there, Boar with a huge headshot, and Yosh going down, so you don't have to worry about the sniper, and that should open up this push onto this final point, as Uber should finally get popped off. No, Corsa, here we go, as both teams are going to do it. Katsy holding on to his Uber charge, going to be trying to keep Skis into an awkward position as Draft actually forcing them out. They finally do take control of this upper area, and we'll see what DK can do with this as Feint coming in, gets a nice stab there onto Carl.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if this is going to quite resort into a push. DK hasn't managed to get much ground, and the sentry is still right there. As one thing I'm starting to notice about this last point is that it seems very easy to push with Uber advantage, but incredibly hard to push without. I think because it's relatively small but so choky that just the process of even getting in the beginning is so difficult unless you have advantage, because the other team could just Uber back and lock out the choke point. But if you do manage to get it, it's such a quick route to the point. So it seems like these teams will need to engineer some sort of Uber advantage before they're able to push successfully. And it's the first round, that was DK sort of making a mistake, coming back out and getting forced. But let's see if this time around we can see Kids Next, or DK, when it's their turn to push, find a way. As this is very bizarre. Giraffe actually walks out lower to try to push. He seems to be getting bored of the whole stalemate situation.
Yeah, and the strange thing is that he didn't bring in Slemnish into that. And here we go, Corsa going down to his final point. Skis gets popped up, pops Supercharge. Corsa focusing everything he's got in the gun, but it's not doing enough damage to take it down. Finally, Boar's going to come in here. Times 2 onto the point. DK looking so good as KD with 5 players alive and not able to defend the point. And this is some awkward pushes onto the final point, but currently we're at a 1-1 with 17 minutes left in the clock.
And what did both of those last wins have in common? They were a result of the defensive team making a mistake rather than the offensive team actually having a successful push to begin with. Both times the defensive team got forced, and you saw it just led to an Uber advantage. With that Uber advantage, it's just such a quick route to the point. Very little that it seems that the defending team can do at that point.
Yeah, that was a pretty big misplay by K&D, only using Giraffe to try to create space for the team as Yosh goes down there early in this fight. So that's going to be hindrance to K&D here, leaving Boar allowed to freely snipe wherever he wants. But we've seen, I think DK has won every single mid-fight so far, and it looks to be going their way again.
Yeah, neither team is playing overly aggressive, but DK is playing slightly more aggressive. And so far it's been successful on mids, barring them overextending into that lobby area and getting picked off. But it seems like Candy is just afraid to ever leave that bats area and finally commit to point, whereas DK is sort of getting the cap time and sort of pressuring them out. When both teams play this passive, it's often the first team that gets cap time that wins, and that's exactly what happened.
And so there we go. And actually, Nursey, again, just a little bit of a confusing Uber pop coming out of her as she popped in. Looks like she wanted to get her team in. Maybe just some miscommunication about, one person wants to be more aggressive than the rest of them. And ultimately, that's going to leave Skis sitting on about a 75% Uber advantage, and they want to make a play out of it. Feint not able to connect on the back stab. As Endy's going to try to jump in here, try to get a force off onto Skis, going down to half HP. Ultimately does succeed in that, and he's going to actually almost escape with his life there, as it's going to be Corsa leading the charge. The second point was going to go down in the favor of DK pretty much no matter what, but nice job there by Endy, at least forcing the Uber charge in the fight.
Yeah, let's see if DK tries to roll this to last with their numbers. It could be risky if they do, if they let Nursey get that Uber ad, but I'm not quite sure. This is a little bit tentative. Nursey's getting very close to Uber. If Nursey can manage to hold on and get this, Nursey's going incredibly low, but yeah, Nursey's just going to hold on to this, and this looks like it's going to be a repelled push from the point of view of Kids Next Door. Slemnish is just taking the last little bit of this Uber, and let's see what he can make happen with it. He's going on the Boar. That's a very important as he gets.
Yeah, and Van gets taken down. He's actually going to try to help himself out. Giraffe with some beautiful stickies directly underneath of his feet. But the big storyline here is KD is going to retake this point, but Skis is going to be having that Uber advantage. So they're going to be able to defend this midpoint. Is Giraffe. What a beautiful pipe onto Billy there. But KD, they want to keep the aggression up, but they're a couple player advantage, but they're down in Uber. And I don't know if they'll be able to sustain this, but they're damn well going to try, as Uber does ultimately come out from course. It's a solo Uber onto Delma, and probably shouldn't work out too well, but he's already picked up 2 frags.
Yeah, I thought that could be Giraffe's win after, he laid that long pipe like Ron Jeremy, but Corsa getting that counter Uber, I don't think Candy was expecting such a quick response. And yeah, they're gonna repel this, and Nursey does have Uber advantage. Let's see if she's going to want to push back into...
Well, yeah, we'll see what they can do as Nursey holding on to that big Uber advantage, but I don't know. They kind of seem to be a little bit passive with the other thing. Ender is currently holding on to a level 3 sentry gun, so we'll see if he gets any cute plays on the engineer side of things, but the longer they wait, the more Skis is able to catch up here as he's already at 50% climbing up, but here we go. Should be a contest onto the midpoint. Slemnish leading the charge for his team. Feint's going to be jumping in here as well as Giraffe coming finally over the top. He's going to be spamming onto Spamfest here, surfing away. Beautiful job right there as Etney goes down. Nice backstab, but currently nothing really happening off of this Uber push. Giraffe has some decent spot up here, but he's actually going to go down, probably down like to 1 HP. He's able to get reconnected back up with his medic, and DK, they actually are going to lose this point as Ender's going to put a level 3 sentry gun. Is that, or is that a mini? It looks like he switched back to minis. No, it's a level 3, right?
Yeah, they're going to need to get... I'm sorry, I didn't notice the sentry, but I will say that Candy did not get quite enough cap time, and that results in Skis being about to get his Uber. They should have gotten that for free, but yeah, they just didn't have enough. They had ×1 on the cap, and that was just not enough. Cap time can be very underrated, but right there, it was what undid Candy's push as Giraffe goes down, and suddenly Skis has this full Uber advantage, which he can be working in a second, although Nursey is rapidly catching up.
So yeah, this is what they're going to do. Skis coming in onto the second point. A little bit of an Uber advantage. Probably nothing to really be able to catch Nursey off. It's probably end up being an Uber trade as course, leading the charge. Nursey directly above the second point, holding with Slumnish as K&D is trying to do their best to defend this. Age is coming in over the top. Nursey jumping down to try to meet up, but ends up having to be forced off here to make sure she keeps herself alive. But Etney coming in over the top. Feint wants to get a backstab on his Skis. He ends up popping the Uber just to make sure he doesn't get faced up. Giraffe might get caught out here as Kresnik trying to run away with his life. He's doing everything again. He's the hopping man. He's the bunny, and he's able to escape. What a job there, as they're going to be able to keep at least a decent player advantage onto this final point, because if they lost more players in that retreat, they wouldn't have been able to hold on to this. But DK, they're out for blood. They want to continue on here as it's currently 1-1. And they want to keep going. Boris peeking down the sideline. Draft, though, he knows it, and he's going to just play a little bit safer. But it looks like we're going to come into another reset here as DK wants to go into that final point.
Yeah, Slemnish is wreaking a little bit of havoc on this flank. He seems to be extending very far to get some nice kills, and he's so far managed to stay alive just juking around corners. He must be so obnoxious to play against. And as I say that, Feint actually backstabs Skis, and meanwhile the rest of his team follows in and gets some really crucial picks. This should be a push-out by Kane, although they have to be obviously very wary about the back cap.
Yeah, they have the Spy as well as Carl, who could make a back cap, but he's just going to try to make a force onto Nurse, but he should just get cleaned up here. Slemnish coming in there doing a nice job. Skis is going to be back up, but DK is just going to have to give up this second point right now, as they're not going to have any chance to hold this, and maybe, just maybe hold on to the midpoint, but being down such Uber advantage, and Corsa and Carl also being down, this is definitely going to be a little bit of a challenge for them.
Yeah, and I'm have my eyes on Boar. He's getting in sort of a height advantage position. I want to see if he can potentially stop this push. And he does take down Slemnish right away, which seems to be a pretty big determinant of whether or not these pushes succeed. Takes down Yo. Nice work by Boar. That should repel this push, and I'm wondering if they can still manage to force out Nurse in a prone position with all those picks. That's what I would be trying to do at this moment.
But I feel like you have 100%. Skis is not that far away. I mean, not having the scout hurts you, but... Well, I guess, I mean, maybe bringing Catsy or something to do that, but now Nursey, the entire combo is actually pushed against this wall. They're eating a lot of damage. Draft able to keep himself alive, but Ski's just about up to 100%. And we should see an Uber trade here potentially, but actually DK losing a couple players there, so that's going to slow down this potential push out of them. We'll see what they can do as Feint, getting in position, wants to make a backstab.
Excellent bodyguard work by Kresnik, just juking around corners and killing everyone attempting to force Nursey. Enabling Nursey to get that Uber, and now it's actually an even Uber trade as opposed to Nursey being forced out in a bad position. But Candy does have numbers, and they might catch out Corsa here? Colin?
Corsa barely... He's going to be able to get out alive, reconnects back up, but Draft's actually really overexposed, gets easily cleaned up there. I'm not sure about his positioning, as K&D wants to do this. Level 2 Sentry Gun is going to get taken out directly above the point. Ender trying to do those little cheeky level 3 plays, and just not really working out for him today. No Draft here for the defense, but Kresnik in a decent spot. Actually might get a little bit caught out as this entire team's backing up. K&D's struggled with keeping forward, but they're doing finally a decent job as Kresnik leading the charge. And there we go, K&D recapping that midpoint as they want to continue on here. And they might just take second if they keep the momentum up.
There's one thing I've noticed so far, Sigathu, it's that both teams are incredibly scared to stand on this point. It is sort of a low-ground death trap, but I feel like at some point you have to get onto it to actually force the other team out, or to make them contemplate whether they want to actually have to repush. But if you sort of let them just tentatively spam from battlements, it's sort of not quite ideal. And as I say that, Candy is rolling in forward, and Etney is actually trying to work his way behind the other team. He's on last. He's trying to juke around. Aw, he's so close to skis, but he's not quite.
And so we see what we can do. We're coming back up to another 100% Uber here, and as actually Nursey actually gets forced off there by Van, got a little bit scared, and so that's going to give the opportunity for DK to push out here. Draft and Etney are 5 seconds on respawn and still far away, as well as Slemnish going down, and I think this should prompt a push coming out of DK because Draft and Etney are still way far away, finally getting rigged back up with their combo, but I'm actually kind of surprised about how passive they are in being in this moment.
They're very scared of a back cap, obviously, but I feel like at some point you do have to push. You can't let opportunities like that sort of let you go by, pass you by, or else eventually you're going to lose the round if you just sit at last, as we saw a couple times at the I-58 event. But that's 66. This is Highlander. Back to Highlander, boys. DK does finally push out, but because they waited so long, Candy has sort of nice positioning, but Giraffe actually overextends and goes down. So this should actually be a repush for DK.
Yeah, and Nursey is going to have that Uber advantage, but ultimately, with so many players down, this midpoint is probably also going to go down in the favor right now, as there's a little bit of a confusion right now. Somebody actually joined in the spec side, so hopefully they get that taken care of. Carl's going to get cleaned up here as Ubercharge is continuing out from the K&D side, but nobody else is really going to get cleaned up here, and might have been a little bit of a precarious pop there, because Skis is going to be in a good spot here, and they actually might be able to hold on to this, because all they lost was their heavy.
I just want to point out that there is not a huge amount of time left on this map. There's 8.5 minutes, and it's still tied 1-1. So pretty soon this is gonna get a little intense. As the spectator says he's a UGC admin, I'll believe him for now. And this is actually an incredibly successful push by DK while we were focusing on that. But Nursey maybe manages to juke out 6 HP. As Nursey escapes, great work by her. But I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to hold on to the second point with the huge Uber advantage that DK still has.
And Etney trying to keep his life alive, trying to make a play onto the medic there, but not able to do it. As we're going to have Giraffe actually look at this. K&D, everybody's rolling out. Skis in a very bad spot directly underneath this, but doesn't get forced off. But Corsa going in, doing a nice job there, and down goes Nursey. And only 4 players alive from K&D, and if they play this correctly, Skis ultimately gets forced off there by Slemnish. They did not play it correctly. Nice job there by Slemnish to save his team potentially a point right there.
If there's 3 things that are consistent in life, it's death, taxes, and the Iron Bomber just completely dunking on kids. That weapon is stealthily overpowered. Not to make this a big rant about that, but Corsa just doing work with those, raining in destruction, just mulching the other team. And let's see if DK has a better angle into pushing this, because they are still only at even Ubers. Are they going to be able to proactively do something, or are they going to have to wait for Candy to make a mistake? As Slendish is getting very aggressive, is Candy going to do anything off these 3 picks they have? Make that 2 as Borg gets a nice headshot at Yosh, but Corsa gets caught out.
Yeah, they just say, oh, but Feint coming in! Huge backstab, taking down Skis right there, and that should open it up for K&D to get out of their final point.
Make that 4 things that are consistent. Death, taxes, the Iron Bomber, and Skis dropping to Spies, but I do think that was pretty rough, and is Candy going to get back out here?
He just wants to make a play onto Nursey. Actually pops her up into the air, but not able to secure it, as Nursey now up to 100%.
Yeah, Nursey's always going to have that Catsy bodyguard. Catsy's very consistent and knows her role on the team, and it is to be just the Nursey protector. She plays a very passive style of Pyro, but that's what Candy asks of her, and she does it well. And this is going to be an Uber advantage push by Candy into mid. They haven't even been forced to pop. Neither team's been having much success in forcing the other team's Uber. I feel like maybe these players should wait until a transition, as Nursey actually chooses to Uber in and Slendish takes down Skis. Excellent Uber by K&D taking down that medic.
Well, I think that seems to be the biggest difference on K&D's side of whether or not they're being successful in their pushes. The question is Slemnish in the push? Yes, then it's successful. If no, then no, and you probably have done something wrong. So Slemnish doing a really good job as he's talking some trash in chat there, but this is looking very good for K&D as they want to keep pushing through.
Yeah.
Actually, they did lose draft.
I'll tell you, Sigafu, back in my day when I used to play Highlander, a lot of Highlander teams, even top-level teams, were sometimes unprepared to hold far enough back so that a scout Uber couldn't pick their medic, because sometimes you're not used to classes that move that fast in the Uber in Highlander. But with that scout buff and that medic buff, it's just even more the case that a scout Uber can really mess you up. You think your positioning is sound for that Uber disadvantage hold, but sometimes not quite. As Feint does take down Corsa, going back to live, Nursey does still have that full Uber advantage. Are they going to choose to push without Corsa? I think they should, Corsa's on DK, I don't know what I'm talking about. They're going to maybe get this for free, or are they going to be able to get him without popping and roll this Uber in a last? That's the question.
Well, and the big thing here, too, is there's only 4 minutes and 44 seconds left on the clock here. If KD takes this point with the super advantage, they might be able to just win this game completely. Level 3 Sentry Gun going to be focused down here, doing a good job. Billy Source is trying to reflect it, but finally it does get taken out. But here comes Carl on the backside trying to get some damage, but he's finding it only onto Uber players. Ender's going to be trying to make a play. Down he goes, but this is looking really good right now for KDs. They're continuing on, but here comes out the Uber charge. Down comes in Van. He's taking out so many as Def was on a 2K right there. Nursey trying to escape with her life right now. As Carl went down. And oh my goodness, this is looking so good, but Edney from behind, he's getting the frags. Can he do it all? It's only the Spy to be able to defend the point. Here comes Aegis. He comes in, he gets the frag, down goes the Sniper, as the defense is coming out from the DK side. What a crazy cluster, and somehow they're coming out on top.
Yeah, nipple hairs away from Candy capping that, as many a caster is wont to say in professional Team Fortress 2, whatever that might be. But yeah, that was very close. Skis did manage to get Zuber in time, but he actually dropped a ton of players. I think if he had managed to click just a little bit faster, I don't know if it's the ping, but that would have been a completely different story. That would have been a full wipe on KD, but it got very down on the wire. Excellent play by Deftroll, though, somehow backstepping 2 separate players on the point, just juking around, using the new power of the Kenyan Spy, who just can run for miles and miles in a row, and just destroy everyone. But looks like this is going to be another Uber advantage for Nursey. I sort of missed that amidst all the hubbub. And let's see if the second attempt is more successful. They're already in with this Uber. They managed to get very far in, but they haven't gotten that gun yet. It does finally go down. Is this going to be cap time?
It looks pretty good. His course is going to be coming down here with his medic, but actually medic goes down. Skis gets taken out there. Ender onto the point. The Spy is going to try to make a play as they do start to contest it. Spamfest coming in. Draft tries to dance for his life, but ultimately gets traded out there. Only 2 players left alive. It's Nursey as well as Slamnish. Slamnish has been known to make back caps, but I think he's ultimately just going to stay back to keep his medic alive and start building. But look at that cap time. It's so utterly close. I mean, if you could make a play, as he just picks up one more frag down, taking down Aegis, as they're ultimately going to get pushed out. In DK, they want to get this, but Feint looks like he might go for a back cap. Look at Kresnik. He's on the teleporter.
Speaking of Aegis, he was the one who definitely saved that last push. He got, I think, a 4K holding that last, just with the black box. He walked in unseen, no one was really focusing him, and he just shot kids in the butt on the point. Oh my god. Not again.
Ski's doing his best Harbaloo impression. This game gets picked off by a Spy yet again, as the point's going to go back in the favor of Candy, and they have huge advantage players-wise. They're already rolling into this final point. Slamnish standing onto it. We'll see if Billy can do anything, but no, it's not even going to have a chance. Great job by Candy, just getting aggressive, not waiting on that second point capture.
And that's 2 minutes left in the game. This is going to be squeaky bum time, as DK is going to have to force some epic fights. And you know what, Sigafu? If this keeps up, pretty soon we're going to have to say that Harblue was actually doing a Skis impression all those years.
We'll see what we can do. K&D right now, if they win this map, they are going to force this into a second best of 3 as they took the steel map. DK, currently, they're fighting for overtime. There's no way they can win this, but they can at least force this into overtime as they're currently down around onto his next mid-fight. Nursey is going to spot out that Spy, not able to get down, but DK's been winning every mid-fight, and this one seems to be falling into that trend. Kresnik over the top as Giraffe is going to get taken a lot of damage, but nice job there by Nursey, giving up the arrows. Carl goes down here, and this is actually not looking too bad for K&D. They start to re-push back onto the point. Ubercharge coming out onto Slemnish as Skis is going to be backing out with the Van, currently only at 90%, able to escape with his life, but K&D finally winning their first fight in almost the critical time. But Corsa coming back out, they're coming out here to defend this. Nursey getting popped up, Van trying to chase through. They need to get this frag onto Nursey, and she's going to be caught in here. She should be taken down pretty easily, but Van, somehow she's keeping alive. Etney coming in over the top, keeping her alive. Nursey is still alive. How is she still alive? Finally goes down, but Slemnish takes out the medic in exchange there for Nursey for how long she kept alive. What a crazy job. Great jukes there by Nursey, and ends up trading out Skis because of it.
And this is nearing the realm of impossibility. DK isn't just fighting Candy, they're fighting the clock. With all that cap time on mid, it might even be technically impossible by now, and I'm pretty sure with Candy actually winning and capping this point, I don't know if this is possible for DK anymore to actually recap this point and roll all the way to last for 30 seconds. So I think that's it, Sigafu. I think we're gonna be going to the second best of 3, which is that going to be on Thursday or is that going to be next Monday?
Guys, that will be this Thursday as we are coming in. Skis running in for his life. That'll be this Thursday. This channel, we'll be bringing it out to you guys. It's going to be a great matchup if this has shown anything. I hope to see you guys out there.
Yeah, these lads dropping the sick bants in chat. Maybe going to go for some cheeky Nandos after this, but I don't know, man. This was a bit of an interesting contrast to the Upward game from last week. I think what we've learned about these teams is that they're actually incredibly even in skill, and it seems to come down to sort of the any given Monday of the matchup, so to speak. Because last week, DK just looked like they had their mind right. they also had the advantage of Kresnik not being there, which he has come back, and it seems like that's actually made a pretty big positive impact for their team. But it also seems like Candy just came to play more. They had a better mindset today. Some of their players really stepped up. Slemnish played really well. Feint played really well. Yosh, Nursey, Giraffe. Like, so many of their players just had monster games. I could keep listing everyone, but there's 9 players on their team, and I'm going to stop there, Sigafu. Much better performance by them.
Yeah, just overall, I mean, DK just seemed to struggle there, but we'll take it out to our analyst desk here. Brick, my man, you've been sitting here patiently for 30 minutes. What did you see in those 3 rounds?
It was the entirety of the KMD flank. As Mustard has been talking up Solemnish, he did not disappoint. I knew going into this with a 5 CP map in Highlander, the scouts and the snipers were going to be doing all the work. And Boar did his best of keeping Solemnish down, but Yosh was still able to keep in part in kills, and Van was sort of able to keep in part of Solemnish's kills. But when it came down to Etney versus Aegis, there just was really no contention outside of Aegis's good plays on last. Aegis going 15 and 31, Etney going 27 and 18. I just felt like flank-wise, KD played it really well, and what you really want to do is just make sure that your flank is able to have their games of the life on a 5 CP map, and that's exactly what they were able to do. And I would definitely have a lot more faith in Etney playing a 5 CP map in Highlander than I would Aegis, and regardless of Solemnish or Van, it doesn't really matter. It's going to be more so who has the better support from your team of doing better. And, Solemnish has Etney, and Van doesn't.
Yeah, and just to kind of explain it, I want to jump in here real quick because some people have some questions in chat. So what happened here is K&D won the first two maps. It was Steel, which was picked by DK. Vanguard was picked by K&D. They won both maps. And since K&D came in from the lower brackets, that means that they cannot win the Grand Finals tonight. They have to win it twice because DK has yet to lose in the playoff system. So now DK, they are allotted 1 loss. They got that today. Now the finals, they're going to be on Thursday, and whoever wins that best of 3 is going to be crowned the champions. As Mustard, I cut you off there. What were you going to say?
Well, before I get to that, I just want to jump in there and say I really hope we get to see some Viaduct, because that was the map I was most hotly anticipating between these two teams, who are both, unlike a lot of the other maps where we sort of edged it to one of the two maps, even if that didn't end up always being the case in practice, but Viaduct is a map that both teams historically have been very good on, so I'd like to see how that plays out. But yeah, the one thing I wanted to point out, I just got a chance to look at the stats while Brick was explaining the flank situation, and I noticed that Nursey died 2 times to Skeez's 10. So, even if DK was completely outplaying Kids Next Door in every other role, which, wouldn't be the case if you're not killing their medic, because part of that is on the other players too, but still, if Nursey dies only 2 times to Skeez's 10, you're not going to win a lot of rounds. And with how hard this last seems to be to push when the other team's medic has that full Uber, DK got around when Nursey got forced in a weird situation pushing out of lower with Giraffe. I still don't know what that was about, Sigafu. If that weird mistake hadn't happened, I think this could have been it could have been less close, because I think the game as a whole was always in Candy's control, even though the score was still very close. And I think Nursey just constantly surviving was a huge part of that.
Yeah, the biggest difference between, or not really the biggest difference, but one of the reasons as to why the score was 2-1 and not a much bigger 3-0, 4-0 for K&D was whenever K&D was in the position of pushing into second or pushing into last, Giraffe would play very aggressively and get himself put into a very bad situation and die. And when that would happen, DK would just bum rush into K&D, and even though Nursey would get out, there wasn't really much support or spam for the rest of K&D, and so we saw a lot of back and forths because of that. And one of the biggest reasons as to why K&D was able to continuously keep pushing into DK's last was because Skis was dying where Nursey was not. But also, I have to commend K&D because they were able to wrap around the combo of DK quite a lot. Whenever they had Uber advantage, they were definitely pushing into them a lot more than DK ever did, and that was one of the biggest reasons as for Skeez's deaths, as well as the better post Uber pushes, was just their ability to use their Uber advantage into the opposing team.
And I'll take it from you there, Brick, as I want to welcome in. We have Ender, Etney, Kresnik, and Nursey joining me in here, the K&D players who won here tonight.
The core.
The leaders of the team, if you will, who congratulations, you guys, on winning this first best of 3, taking it out to the Thursday. And I will start it off here with Kresnik because it's kind of a big. You coming back here after all that time away. What brought you back here for the Grand Finals?
Basically, I was watching the bo3 after my scrims that day, Overwatch scrims, and I just I looked at my schedule. I'm like, man, we're in Grand Finals. I could probably play. So I just was like, hey, do you guys want me in Grand Finals? They're like, and that's how it worked out. I will say, before this Friday, I hadn't launched TF2 since June 5th.
But you've been playing. You play like Overwatch and stuff.
Yes.
So you're still like FPS up.
You play tanks. You play tanks.
Yeah.
You play a game that takes 0 mechanical skill. Back to heavy.
I have been playing FPSs for like 4 to 6 hours a day every day since then. So it's not like I walked away from my computer for 2 months, but I hadn't launched the game since June.
Reinhardt's a very involved hero.
And so we'll bring it over to you, Nursey. This win here tonight. I mean, did you kind of come in expecting it to take it off of only 2 maps?
Yes.
Really?
just that's it. Really? I mean, really?
I'm very cocky.
Okay, well that's a fair way to handle yourself. I mean, you played it exceptionally well in that first round of Steel, only dying 2 times.
Yeah, Sig, if I had to jump in there and say that sort of leads to the natural question, Steel. What the hell happened at DK in that first round of Steel?
They didn't think we were practicing.
They didn't practice it because they thought they didn't need to.
Basically, I was there for the talk right before. We just talked about what they like to do there, because we've, obviously us and DK have both been around the game for a very long time. We kind of know what they like to do, like what their mindset is, because we've spoken to them, discussed how we feel about the map, and we figured out what we thought would just work well against Carl's mindset, and it worked in the first half.
Yeah, and of course they did come back, but then that last round being sealed with just some ridiculous stabs from Feint. I have to give that man credit. Coming into Vanguard, what was your mindset going into this map? I mean, you guys seem pretty confident on it, especially with Slemnish wrecking house every time this map is played. Was that sort of your thinking behind this, that your flank could just outmuscle theirs?
Vanguard was my map pick, and I really only picked it because, no offense to the HL, Highlander 5CP is very dumb, and I think no matter what we would do on 5CP, we always had a backup plan because you could just stalemate the map. So we on 5CP maps could just DM our way through things, and we have better DM than DK does.
Especially after all the things going on in Steel too, like DK not joining the right team. Like they were basically trying to trigger us or try and upset us, and all it did was end up making them upset. Especially the second we took that first round in Steel, they just started playing worse and worse, and we knew we had the momentum going into Vanguard, and there was no way we were going to lose that map with how we were playing tonight.
XD. Yeah, I mean, it seemed. I mean, you say that, but it was a fairly close match. Ultimately, the scoreline being 2-1 in your guys' favor. That third round took absolutely forever. I mean, I'll kind of put this between Ender and Netney. You guys can kind of talk about maybe what kind of caused you guys to struggle so much, or it seemed like there's just some struggles in pushing into that final point. Is it just the point style, or what's kind of ultimately preventing that, or kind of slowing down the rounds on Vanguard?
It's not so much last, because last is a really hard point to push out of. Vanguard shouldn't actually be that stalematey because you can literally get into any point for free, and that's basically all we did. It may have been a little bit slow, but it was constantly trading back and forth points. It was never really sitting on one point, at least it didn't feel like for that long, because even if we didn't have Uber, we could easily muscle in picks and just dry push through because of how much ground we can get on either side of the map without having a sniper just completely shut us down.
Yeah, no, it's kind of an interesting map in that way. Mustard, you're going to ask something?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for y'all. First of all, hypothetically, let's say this was the final best 3 of the Grand Finals. Let's say you had won it tonight, and let's say you had a trophy, and you could only give it to one member of your team. Who is the MVP? Who on your team do you think really...
Feint's a god.
Fair enough. He was getting a ridiculous amount of med picks, especially on that Steel game. I was very impressed by that man. And I just have one more question for you guys. To anyone who chooses to answer, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream, and does Boar cheat?
Orange swirl.
Yeah, I think we can go from there. Ender, real quick, man. I believe you got yourself a medic pick today. Am I correct in that?
I know
Right?
Skis kind of threw himself at me at the end.
Yeah,
Don't-
I
don't-
Spamfest did, yeah.
Don't
yeah, wrong
reward
engine.
Ender. He's terrible.
Yeah,
well, I
thank you.
don't.
Please
I don't
don't.
like to reward him, but like you got to throw the engineer something. Like you make him build a sentry or dispenser. I don't know, something like that. But
Ender
no,
is the most BM heavy player on our team. Don't do anything to boost his ego.
Yeah, I went level 3s before Spamfest
well,
did.
we don't want to talk up Ender because he's just gonna make Slemnish like feel really inferior given that Ender's superior DM there. Before we end it off here, Brick, any kind of final questions you want to toss to these guys?
No.
Well, I think that'll be it for us, guys. Ender, Etney, Nursey, and Kresnik, congratulations, guys, as you won
Thank you.
2-0 here tonight between the first two maps. You'll be taking it out to Thursday. It'll be at 9:30 Eastern, exact same start time. It'll be on this exact same channel. I hope to see everybody out here in chat here today. Bring a friend. It's going to be a great time. This was a fantastic matchup, and you guys play phenomenally as always, so congratulations. And actually, we'll do here real quick from top down. Let's do some quick shout-outs here. We'll start off with Brick. Who do you want to shout out?
Turquoise Jeep Ride. Die!
That's beautiful. Ender.
Right, Justify?
Etney.
Shout out to Boat for pre-gaming us on Thursday, and shout out to Corsa for carrying his team to another second place.
Kresnik.
Shout out to my Overwatch team, H2K.
There you go, Mustard.
Shout out to H2K Forgiven on the League of Legends team. Can you get
Yes,
Can you get an
him
autograph?
too.
Can you get me an autograph from him, Kresnik?
I don't know if I can convince him to bring me to Worlds.
We'll see what he can do. Nursey.
Shout out to my friends on Luca Goers. Get hyped for season 23 SEA invite, and thank you guys a lot for the interview and the cast.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. Love to do it. Vox Day, man, take yourself off mute. The man behind the camera doing so much work. I hope you guys also, just to say, me and Vox Day worked really hard on doing all of this production stuff over the weekend. We completely revamped what we did. All of the HUD elements, the casting stuff, it's all customizable. I'm going to be releasing it once this Grand Finals is done and I polish it up so we can get more people into the casting community, more people into the camera work side of things, because I think that'll really help out TF2, but we all need a good starting point. So if you like what you see, it's going to be out there. But my man, Vox Day, any shout-outs for yourself?
Yeah, first thing I'll say is I had nothing to do with this creation. That was all Sigafu. Don't let him try to be modest and not take credit. He did all of the new graphics, so big shout out to him there. And I'd like to shout out Dr. Zordy, the Platinum Engineer. He's up and coming, and I think he's going to give Ender a run for his money.
Oh, I love it. I love this trash talk here. All right,
Anyone
guys.
can do that.
Yeah.
There
He's
you
no
go.
Slick Mahoney.
I mean, I thought engineer was like one of the highest skill level things. That's what I keep telling myself at night, right? Something like that. No, thank you guys so much for joining me out here. It's been a wonderful cast, and I'm looking forward to Thursday because I think it'll be even better. And as Mustard said, please pick Viaduct in the first two. I really would love to see you guys go up on that map. I think it'd be it's such an exciting matchup. But either way, it's going to be an exciting matchup this Thursday, 9:30 Eastern. Thank you guys so much for joining me out here tonight, and we will see you next time.